Hello and welcome to another episode of the Underhive Lorekeepers podcast. This episode proudly sponsored by Top Dog's All Dog Hot Dog, now with 30% confirmed real dog meat. As always, I am Spamuel, and to my right, the devilishly deliquatious domestic manvint himself, Nathan. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, mate. Now I understand. Right, okay. A little bit of off-air chat. I was told not to read something. I was told, no, don't read. So, okay, well, sorry that we're a team. But now I get it. That was good. That was...
I thought you'd like that.
That is top
That's
tier.
actually not mine. That goes out to a listener, Cygnus Maximus. And
righto.
he's introduced me to some, there are some crazy letters out there that have some crazy words. And I picked one of the craziest letters I could think of. D.
Of course you did. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to know why D?
Why D?
Because some of the letters are crazy, but D's nuts. So, how are you, buddy?
Entertained. Thoroughly entertained from that. I like that. That was good. How am I? Well, how am I, you ask?
Okay, yeah, this sounds ominous.
Firstly, I don't care how you are.
Oh.
More importantly, nobody should care how I am, because what's about to happen is our shortest intro of all time.
Tight ship.
Tight ship. No loose lips on this one. We are getting straight. We have had some emails, some communications, some interactions with some naysayers, some ne'er-do-wells, some people who would dare think that we can't do a short intro.
Which is ridiculous because usually my parents would just call you instead of emailing you.
Yeah. It was weird, but they used all manner of communication service, including carrier pigeon, which I thought was quite interesting. But no, that is not what we're here to talk about. Though the carrier pigeon was very cool.
Yes.
Yeah. But we're
okay,
talking.
so tight.
So what we're going to do today is Malstrain episode. Let's get into it. No more tight ship. No intro. Done. That was our intro. Done.
Okay. Have you written a new travel sheet? 'Cause we've got Spamuel corrections. We've got 4 Spamuel corrections.
Sorry. Are the Spamuel corrections part of the Malstrain? Is that what you're saying? Because I don't think they are. So, who are the Malstrain? Let's get into this. Intro is now sitting at a whopping 3 minutes. Stick that in your pie holes, you non-believers.
All right, cool. Well, most of those corrections were about me, so I'm fine to completely forget about them then.
Can I see them? Just
okay.
wait. I want to see it. Right out.
Tight. No, tight.
Tight.
Tight episode.
Tight episode.
Tight opening.
Tight opening. If you
so
enjoy the
who
show,
are-
you're interested in supporting the podcast, yada, 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 Malstrain.
I don't know what to make of this. Okay, Malstrains. So Malstrains, as you probably all have gotten from our last 2 episodes, are a form of Genestealer. They are, in fact, the descendants of the purestrain Genestealer that was changed by the work of Hermiatus. And I'm really thrown by the fact we haven't done an opening. Okay, hold on.
No, you're doing this really nice.
Yeah.
You just, start running. Don't worry about trying to crawl, just run here.
Okay.
So,
Well,
no way.
why don't you jump in here?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. I'm a little bit angry. I don't know why I'm angry. Woosa. All right.
Well, I think a great place for us to take this episode is for us to talk about the difference, firstly, between the Malstrains and possibly the sort of classic Genestealer cults. Talking about maybe where they've come from, and then maybe talk about the gang makeup of the 2 factions.
Yeah, absolutely. But the one thing that I got out of this research was the fact that the Malstrains are actually a different variant of Genestealer. So they're not then the Malstrain that we have, that we will talk about in this episode, is not the variant that I think it's Inquisitor Vestrix. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Yep.
The badass gal who basically just rained hell down upon on Secundus.
Yes, yeah. So she identified the Malstrain as a variant of Genestealer, right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
But the Malstrain that we have, from an aesthetic point of view, almost from an organisational point of view, is not the Malstrain that she identified.
No.
That's like the base version, and then it got Hermiated, and then that's a word.
Hermiated.
Hermiated.
Yes, so the original purestrain Genestealer that had that sort of, necromundan mind meld with our boy Hermiatus, he had been manipulating the physical structure of the Genestealer, and then with the connection between the two of them, I believe he's continued to experiment. And that has allowed the Genestealer variant, the Malstrain, that has been created to actually spread. So, when Vestrix actually got into Secundus, and she obviously, being an Inquisitor of the Orosinos, understood the Genestealers as much as anyone at the time could have.
Yeah.
And she would therefore be aware of the sort of the difference between your quote-unquote pure Genestealer versus your Ymgarl Genestealer,
Yeah.
and then the Malstrain Genestealer that she was seeing under Secundus. And
I think... sorry to interject here, just before you make that next point. I think the Malstrain Genestealer is probably more psychically awakened than the other variants.
I'm glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that. I think... we will go into that later on.
Yeah.
But yes, I think you are 100% on the money, because the... I don't want to talk about it yet.
No, I know.
Yes.
I just wanted to mention that as like... So in my mind, I wanted to understand what is the variation she's seeing. So, the Ymgarls, they're like, a little bit fancier, probably a little bit cooler looking, whatever. But what is she seeing in the Malstrain? What is it there that she's able to identify as a variant? Do you know what I mean? And from what we know of the Malstrain on Secundus, that's the vibe I'm getting, is that it is definitely that psychic ability.
Absolutely. When it comes to the mental capacity of the Malstrains and sort of the mental abilities, they are definitely, in my opinion, much more formed, and I think a lot more powerful in that respect. But one thing that Vestrix noticed is, and we talked about it in our first episode and a little bit in our last episode, of the Genestealer series, that there is a cycle at which Genestealer reproduction occurs. That first you have your brood scum, you get the, bing bang boomed, and you are carrying that, what was it, sexually transmitted cult.
Yeah, that's it. And they're the
then
cogna... What do we call them? Not we, but the contagi.
Contagi, exactly.
Yep.
They reproduce and will produce something that is more tyrannid than human.
Yep.
And then it gets more and more human, or more and more to the host species as time goes by. The Malstrain don't do this.
Yeah.
There is no rhyme or reason as to what genus that offspring is going to be. You may be a pair of Contagi, and your first child is going to be, in effect, a pure strain Malstrain. So, what Hermiatus has done is he's thrown almost... he's pressed shuffle on the Spotify playlist that is Genestealer reproduction.
Yeah.
So, you may have your first child be a pure strain Genestealer of the Malstrain variety.
Right.
You may have a third generation. You may have a first generation. You may have just a plain human. But that 5-generational cycle is no there's no rhyme or reason to it. And if you are a first generation and you are mating with a third generation, you may have another first generation offspring. You may have pure strain offspring. This is something that Hermiatus, I believe, did on purpose because it would allow more reproduction to occur.
So I agree with you. Now, I'm going to view it from the mindset that Hermiatus was out there looking for a cure. Yes?
Absolutely. He was just trying to find a gene therapy.
Yeah. So if he's made it so that you could have two contagi mate and still produce a human, an uninfected human.
I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
I believe it was post mind meld Hermiatus who caused this.
Oh, really?
I believe the works he was doing previously were 100% in the, to actually have that gene therapy completed. I believe he was actively attempting to basically be able to vaccinate people en masse to make them Genestealer proof.
Yeah, so that's where my mindset is, right? So that if you can create a human that is derived from two, infected carriers,
Yeah.
then that's actually it's not really Genestealer proof per se. It's more about being able to eliminate the spread of that infection. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I guess I get what you're saying about it is true. He was trying to make them Genestealer proof, wasn't he? He was trying to say you can deploy 100 Genestealers to a planet, but if we're all vaccinated in X, Y, and Z, it won't matter. You can
The cult can't spread because it can't take hold.
exactly. You can bing bam boom whoever you want, and yes, you may corrupt 1 in 100 of them, but that's it. And then it's just a case of hunting down those Genestealers of pure strains. That would be it. Yeah, righto.
But what I believe is once he's done that mind meld, and he's actively sort of joined with the Genestealer, much like you could say our latest Patreons have joined with us, and people such as Amon, Axel, Scott, Joss, Gardner, Rob, and Life in the Ruins have joined our cult. Thank you very much, Patreons.
Just so you're aware, you're all getting omniposited, by the way.
Yes.
It's just
yes.
you picked the wrong episode to join on, so it's going to have to happen to you.
But do you see how seamlessly I slid that in?
Oh, that was perfect.
So I believe after the mind meld occurred, that the gene therapy he was then doing, mixing it with his own DNA, because it specifically says it was only much later that the Guilders of Secundus discovered what Hermiatus was up to in the depths of their hive. By this time, the tech priest has merged Xenos genetic material into his own and was helping the pure strain as it spread its curse among its populace. So I believe he's manipulated it so it's able to infect faster, possibly like a true virus.
Right.
And which is why you're getting these mutations, like just countless numbers of different variables.
So, but see, the thing is, I look at the way that the Genestealers infect, and because of that, I don't know, hierarchy of I guess, infection, where, you're going to have contagi, and then you're going to have you'll have to...
what are they? The Malignati?
Malignati, yeah, and then the hybrids and so forth. There's almost like this structure to it, which makes it efficient. Malignati, that's it, yeah. It makes it efficient in that way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So you're not rolling the dice. Yes. Okay, so say if you... Let's bring it down to gaming terms. You roll 10d6, right? But you know that anything from a bloody 3 plus is going to be fantastic, right? So that's what the Genestealer hierarchy looks like. And so in this role, we need all 3 pluses.
It's predictability.
Predictability, yeah. What Hermiatus does is creates this, potentially, you could get all these 6s. You could get all these pure strains. Well, whoop-de-doo, Basil. But you could end up with humans that you need to just almost have to restart the process with. You know, you go, okay, well, it's an uninfected child, which is actually gets quite dark thinking about that. But
Yeah. Well, no, they'd still be infected. They'd simply be much more human passing. Like they would almost appear as that fourth generation straight away.
no, what I'm saying and what I was trying to say earlier is I can see them having children that are completely uninfected.
No, I disagree entirely.
You don't think so?
That's that Xenos infection is still in them. Like it's stamped on their skin, like as well as any tattoo. Interesting segue there. 46 paid Patreons now, so we are almost halfway to butt tattoo.
Look at you go with your 2 segues. Oh my word.
I am like a San Francisco librarian. I am segueing up and down this field.
What is it? You can take the man away from the intro, but you can't take the intro out of the man. Well done,
absolutely.
sir.
But no, I believe that infection will always be on them.
Yeah.
But Hermiatus's therapy on, I believe, the Genestealer, that last pure strain, and possibly then those first generations, maybe even those original brood brothers, his assistants, they are the ones I believe he's practicing his fleshcraft on. He's adjusting their genetic ability each time, and that is what's screwing with the generations, which is why I think, sort of definitely jumping ahead of where we should be right now, in the Malstrain gangs, you see only the Malstrain pure strains and the brood brothers. I believe the brood brothers, despite what official law says about them, I think they are the mix between the first generation and the fourth generation.
Oh.
That's how I see it. I understand the stuff by, the official writers of Games Workshop say different things.
How dare they?
I see the Brood Brothers as the perfect basis for doing all 4 generations before those pure strains. But obviously, just Malstrained.
Yeah, okay. So you're saying, extra arm growths and
hell yes.
all this extra stuff that we don't necessarily see on the current Brood Brother range. Like we're sort of seeing them, a little bit of a funky haircut, and that's about it. And when I say haircut, I mean the old Cardassian ridges. But that's a Star Trek reference, by the way.
No, I loved it. I think the Cardassians are probably one of the best bad guys in all of Star Trek. Also, Deep Space Nine, in my opinion, is the best Star Trek, and Captain Benjamin Sisko is the only true, captain of Star Trek. This is actually going to be the thing that gets me the most hate.
100%.
From our audience. Can people who keep contacting me about the fact that I don't eat butter, please stop telling... of everything that has ever been said on this show, ever, that is the thing that I think might end up getting me cancelled. I could have said that I get up every morning and beat up puppies with a club made out of a baby seal.
Yeah.
And people would just be like, fair enough, man. Every man's got to have a passion.
Yeah, player's got a game.
I say I don't eat. Yeah, I say I don't eat butter or margarine. I'm not even kidding. I think I've gotten 30 messages. People that we know in real life have messaged me. Ash messaged me in disgust.
And rightly so.
No butter? No. It blows me away. Okay, so stop eating butter. It's bad for you. Deep Space Nine was the best Star Trek. Cardassians were awesome. Back to what you were saying about those bad boys having Cardassian ridges.
One last thing about Deep Space Nine. The spin-off from that never got anywhere. That annoyed me. They did I think 3 episodes or something. And it could not get off the ground. I just don't understand why either. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
No.
Keeping Up with the Cardassians. Yes! He's back, baby. He's back.
I really like that.
Let's keep
I
on
really like that. Yeah.
There was some weird videotape at the start which sort of tried to launch the career of one of the Cardassians, and don't watch it. Anyway, so so other than the Ridges, I don't expect the Brood Brothers to have much more going for them. To identify them as Genestealers or part of the Malstrain. I keep saying Brood Brothers, Brood Scum. Yeah, so there's no.
I think I screwed that up first. I think I said, I did. I said Brood Brothers, I think, and you're just following me.
Yeah, right.
Verbal correction.
So I know in the Kill Team box there's the dude with the claw and all that, but that's easy to hide. Do you know what I mean? And so that's when I look at the Malstrain infected gangs and the actual Malstrain gang itself. It's about what you can conceal. And one of the things that they do mention is the fact that, the Malstrain gangs, or the teams, I guess, it's a bit difficult to call them gangs, but they don't exist really outside of Hive Secundus. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yes and no. So
okay, I want to hear
they exist. No, you're absolutely right. The vast majority of them only exist within Secundus.
Yeah,
but one of the big things at the moment is with the fall of the squat fortress of Yardland.
Yeah,
the tunnels leading out past the dust wall, all of those those underground access points. The Malstrains now have access to those.
Yes.
So it is now entirely viable that they have already that they get out there.
You're saying that we can see now full-blown Malstrain gangs with the termites and all that kind of gizzo floating around.
Yes.
So having basically
yes.
for use of a better term, their purestrain version, which is not really a purestrain because it's a Malstrain. They're Malstrain purestrain. Yeah.
So not only do I expect to be seeing them from now on from like a gaming perspective, which is great because we can use these Malstrain gangs and these Malstrain infected gangs in regular campaigns. But it also says in the Hive Secundus book that we got with our copies of Hive Secundus. So under the actual section here for the Malstrain, it is feared not just on Necromunda that during the uprising and subsequent destruction of Hive Secundus, the Malstrain escaped from the city. Evidence of mutated Genestealers has been found in the depths of other hives by the agents of Lord Helmore, though such occurrences are usually explained away by the disturbingly wide variety of genus the alien creatures can exhibit. In truth, the Palanite scrutinators have amassed extensive evidence on the spread of the Malstrain, though so far have kept it a secret by the order of Lord Helmore. Certainly, if the Adeptus Terra were to learn the extent to which the Malstrain has spread across Necromunda, the fall of Hive Secundus might be but a taste of their retribution.
Right.
They are everywhere.
Can I'll just say something to you in regard to that comment about the fall of Hive Secundus is just but a taste of what could happen. There is a lot of that vibe across the Book of Desolation and Secundus.
Oh man, right?
And so we talked a lot about Secundus and how it was such an important facet and how Necromunda was such this important facet and so forth. But I'll just read you one little bit that threw me when I was reading it. I'm like, wow, this is an open letter of threat.
This is dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. So, were the Greater Imperium to become aware of the perilous Xenos strain festering behind the crumbling defences of the Dust Wall, it may well reconsider just how valuable Necromunda is to the domain of the God Emperor, and act accordingly. So, for everything that we talked about in our Secundus episode about the importance of the Hive, the importance of Necromunda, and how it doesn't get the old, liquidation button hit on it, in the Book of Desolation and in Hive Secundus book, there are definitely some less than veiled threats towards Necromunda of like, we will flick the switch whenever we need to, sort of thing.
They are so less than veiled, you could say that they are open threats.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of blew me away a little bit. Like I wanted, like when we were talking about Secundus in the Hive Life episode, I really wanted to bring about the fact that it was an important hive, Necromunda's an important hive, but the history books that we have in front of us, which is the Book of Desolation and Secundus, they kind of throw that. But this is a bit of an offshoot. Another thing that I will make a point of, and it's an offshoot to our episode as well, I'm not totally convinced about how it's all written either, because it keeps mentioning Lord Helmore, and we know it's...
Okay. But what we need to remember here is technically, since the beginning of the succession to now, it has been a very, very quick turnaround.
Yep.
I mean, not... This is a really interesting point that comes up a lot. So, we know that the vast majority of codexes and Necromunda books and all that sort of stuff is written from the perspective of the Imperium.
Yes.
Of whatever Munitorum scribe has been given the information and is copying it from whatever source or is being dictated to him, etc., etc.
Yep.
The vast majority of people still believe Ronti Helmore is sitting on the throne being a good little Imperial governor. Like, we know that some of those members of the Adeptus Terra who still live on Necromunda are passing that information through to the Greater Imperium.
Yeah.
Are under the command of Lady Credo and Ozzy Arenthus.
Yep, 100%. We know that because he's got the big tick of a spell, the Aquila of approval. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Right.
But you got to remember, like, you're in the same hive as someone, and it can take 200 years for you to get an invitation to a wedding for someone that died 80 years ago.
Okay, that's true. I was just I wanted to see the transition. Do you know what I mean? So and what I mean by that is like,
I reckon it's going to be the next. Okay. Will we do a read on the Book of Desolation?
We probably need to. Yeah, we probably need to probably end up doing a thing about the Book of Desolation, because there's some historical points on there that really follow on from the Aranthian succession that we need to highlight.
That would be a tight episode, because it's only like 14 reading points.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
That would only take us like 4 hours.
Yeah, so if we did a 4-hour episode with a 6-second intro, we'd be crack. Yeah. We'd be cracker, mate.
Tight.
So,
tight.
Yeah, look, do you know when...
So that's the Malstrains.
Okay, yes, back to the Malstrains. But what I'll say finally is when things start moving, I love the fact that the Aranthian succession was changing the timeline, moving it forward, doing all those things. And these books seem to, like, put the handbrake on it a little bit, and that kind of got up my nose. But anyway, Malstrains.
Because there's 3 guys in the library going through, crossing out Helmore and writing Aussie.
That is true.
And it's taking them a long time.
Yeah, and one of them has no arms, so...
None of them have arms.
They're just servitors. Okay, re-rail the derail. I apologise, folks. Where we don't have a long intro, we have a ginormous derail.
Yes, so that is what I believe Inquisitor Vestrix identified with the Malstrains being a different form of Genestealer. Do you agree?
Absolutely. Can we just tick off the few points that we said were the key reasons why they're a variation? Just so
that is the second point.
1.
Well, let's re-rail it then. So, let's go back to Hermiatus. Let's go back to that experiment he was doing.
Yeah.
Why don't we talk about Big Papa Patriarch himself?
We know that Hermiatus had... I'm going to say 3 or 4, potentially more. I don't know. I can't remember quite specifically what the book says.
A couple.
Sorry?
Several.
It
says several.
Several. No, nice and vague.
3 or 4. I like 3 or 4.
3 or 4. So the the matriarch, the one that becomes, sorry, the patriarch, well, the one that becomes the patriarch is the last one left of Hermiatus's little experiment bank. Now,
Because he accidentally experimented on them until they died,
yeah,
Nathan.
yeah.
We've all been there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, we have to.
We've all gone down the Geneva checklist doing experiments on Xenos races.
Yes. Oh, God, happy days.
Shout out to our Canadian listeners.
Oh, my. Okay, fair enough. Picking fights. Good stuff. Anyway.
Oh, man, I've made friends with several Canadians through this podcast.
Yeah, right.
And each of them is a terrible person.
Yeah, because they don't like the fact that you don't eat butter. But anyway, so the last one in the cluster is the one who breaks free, and there is this idea that this is also the remaining. But we've got a little bit of read about it, and I'll go into that. The progenitor of the cult of the Malstrain patriarch, that ancient Genestealer mutated and then released by Hermiatus, known variously as the Malstrain father, Broodspire, Devil of the Underhells, and Broodmine, among countless other titles. It is believed that the creature resides somewhere in the lowest levels of what was once the Underhive of Secundus. Well, now known as the Underhells. So it exists within that Underhell. So this creature, I think, was probably the most potent out of the several that he had. And I also believe that it learnt whilst Hermiatus was experimenting on the other ones.
Absolutely. Yep. I think, because we know Genestealers are smarter than your average bug.
Yep.
And they are an infiltration creature.
Yep.
They learn, they adapt, they overcome. They're basically Bear Grylls with chitin. And this Genestealer has watched what's happened to its possibly its broodmates.
True.
And,
absolutely.
You know, because Hermiatus also had multiple infected humans and was experimenting on them as well. So when Hermiatus has gotten it into his cogitators that it's not just a physical sort of connection between the infected and the infectee.
Yeah, okay.
But it's possibly mental. That's when he straps that mind meld machine onto the Genestealer.
Yeah.
And the two of them basically just go, oh, we gonna get it on.
I know we mentioned it multiple times already, this episode and the previous episode, but it's something that I think it's the crux point. It's the father of everything that we have in Secundus, and I just want to reread that little bit just because it means you truly need to understand the failing of Hermiatus here, but also the power of this singular pure strain that was left. By means of a neural interface, Hermiatus connected himself to the Xenos in an experiment that even his most loyal assistants warned against. What Hermiatus learned from his experiment remains a mystery, though when it was complete, he calmly released the pure strain from its restraints and watched as it overpowered and infected each of his assistants in turn, before turning on the willing tech priest. So now we know that he'd been oviposited the whole workup. As I said, we've talked about this before, but the level at where this pure strain is, I think, is far outstripped every other pure strain that he was experimenting on, and probably most other pure strains that we know of. You know what I mean? So
most definitely.
Yeah. So
you also have someone who, even amongst the ranks of the Mechanicus, the biologists and the like there, who is said, even through the Inquisition, said to be brilliant and gifted in his work. Like, if that person is also experimenting on this Genestealer at the same time, it's going to be better than your average Genestealer, which is why I think he's then said, I can do the mind meld via the neural interface with this bad boy.
This is where I have a difference with you. I think he was coerced into doing the neural interface. I think somehow that Genestealer got into whatever was left of his humanity, got into his brain and said, let's do this thing. And it's like that scene from Demolition Man where they put their headsets on and yeah, exactly like that. So
Great movie, by the way.
great movie. If you haven't seen it, do see it. But yeah, I think that Genestealer has corrupted him to do that.
So you think the Genestealer was basically using its mind powers and saying, "Hey man, you should join up your brain with that Genestealer." Sorry, beep bop boop. Join brain with Xenos.
Yep, 001. This will be fun. Let's get down to some brain pan stuff. So I think perhaps
I disagree, but I see where you're coming from.
So that's given what we know now of the patriarch. And we'll get into it, guys. And we're saying given what we know now, but we know it's an incredible psyker, right? Incredibly powerful.
Yes.
Incredibly gifted. I think it had, definitely now has the capacity to stretch out its psychic presence beyond what its little containment cell was doing. Do you know what I mean? So, if you've got a containment cell that says we can handle I'm just going to make up a ranking here, a level 3 psyker, and we know the Genestealers only operate at level 1 psychic capacity. So we're 2 above that, that's fine. But then you have this purestrain that is beyond that. And it's pushing outside of that containment field. It's spending its time, it's learning, it's understanding, it's linking with its fellow purestrains to try and create some network. You know what I mean? That's why I think it infected Hermiatus. I also think that Hermiatus would have been very open-minded to that kind of experimentation as well. Repeated failures. And it states there's repeated failures on all the other pure strains. So now it starts to go, how do I get a result with my last remaining test subject? And then here's this whisper in his brain, or his cogitator saying, just put the neural link on. There'll be no problems. You're the alpha here. You're in control. You're the dominant within this scenario. And he gets that fed into his brain, fed, till eventually goes, yep, I'm in charge here. I'm going to do this. Puts the hat on, and that's it. That's all she wrote. Now we have Hive Secundus.
Okay.
Well, that's what I said anyway. And I say that because we know that the patriarch is now potentially still the same patriarch.
It 100% is. Like, it 100% is the same creature. It has never been seen. Where is it? So it says in our Hive Secundus books here that there have been instances of tech hunters that have been fortunate enough to enter the depths of the Underhells and return to tell people what they've actually seen, and they have like pic captures or photos, and this is where it's just insane. Crude wall paintings depicting a many-armed abomination fused with a throne of warped bones on which it sits, but all those pictures are different. So some of them show a creature of one shape. Some show a different shape. They have different numbers of arms. They're showing different patriarchs. The only sort of continuous thing is it sits on a throne of bones, which is so metal, it's just ridiculous. And the glowing eyes. And every picture describes these glowing eyes, that they stare with an unsettling intensity. Now,
So
I have a theory.
does this not speak to the fact that it could be multiple? Okay, so if we go with our theory from the start. Now, I don't want to derail a theory here, so we'll just go very quickly on this. That you could breed a pure strain from two contagi, or contagi and a human, right? Then that pure strain could then become the next patriarch. Do you know what I mean?
No. Until the original patriarch dies.
That's what I'm saying. So the original one has died, and then you have another patriarch come from one of these, rapidly grown pure strains. That's a theory I'm looking at.
I think its physical body no longer matters.
Right.
I
okay.
think that... So it wasn't just Hermiatus's work that mutated this patriarch.
True. We've got the
We've had
gravitatic
generations of gravitational distortions, temporal distortions coming from that,
radiation,
the nuclear weapons, all that sort of stuff. And we're going to go into this with the Malstrain stuff later on. It has caused more mutation than just Hermiatus's genetic shenanigans.
Yep.
All right? I believe one of the most important things goes back to what you said earlier, that Hermiatus has allowed the Malstrains to become more psychically attuned. Now, above Secundus is this huge sort of whirling vortex of weird psychic energies. Now, I believe a lot of that is coming from the Patriarch, because I believe it's possible that the Patriarch has transcended true physical form and is now able to manipulate and adjust its own physical existence with its brood mind. Right. That each of these images that we are seeing in these different photographs brought to us by tech hunters, they're all accurate. The brood scum in there are seeing their god and go back to their various territories and are finger painting on the walls the creature they saw. It is different to every single one of them because they are all perceiving this being differently. Is this any different to the way different people have described the Emperor of Mankind? No, it is not. It is almost identical. Am I saying that the God Emperor of Mankind is quite possibly hideously mutated Genestealer Patriarch? That's going to be on our next Patreon.
You are not saying that. This is
no. I'm not saying that.
This is an
I'm saying that he's
Imperium-focused podcast.
definitely a Genestealer Patriarch. But I genuinely believe that the Patriarch is the same being since this point, and he has simply evolved.
Yeah, because there is a part in the Book of Desolation where it says, whispers that the Malstrain Patriarch has evolved into something altogether more horrific than its Xenos peers, perhaps even shedding its mortal form to become a thing of pure psychic energy alive within the minds of its brood,
Yes.
and any foolish enough to enter the abyss. So this is transcending it. This is taking it to a completely another level, and that's exactly what I basically what you're saying about it has become something more than its physical presence.
It is more.
But it's still the same being. But something I want to pick up on what you said then, it is a god. You know what I mean? It has become this like localized god, basically. If that be the case, if the
It's
storm...
not localized anymore. It spreads its will via that psychic beacon across Necromunda, and that's...
Oh, but that's what I mean, localized. Localized the planet. Yeah.
But we know that the ideal end game for a Genestealer cult is to set up enough of a base that brood mind sends out a beacon to Tyranid, like, you know, to the Tyranid race.
Yep.
The problem here,
Yeah, I know.
is Hermiatus has actually done something very smart, and he's kind of given them, how would I say it? He's given them an accent that the Tyranid race finds repulsive.
Accent?
It's basically, and everyone, doesn't matter where you are in the world, there's going to be a regional accent that you can immediately think of that you're just like, if I hear someone with that accent, I just don't want to talk to
Yeah, it's like we're in Australia.
It's usually
we hear,
my voice.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we hear Kiwis, we're just like, oh, yucky.
I was born here, but okay.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, the Tyranids, because of the broken form that of the Tyranid call that they're hearing, the psychic projection that's coming out to them, they hear it and they pull back, mate. Not in fear, but I believe they pull back in disgust.
In the actual
Because-
wording from the book, it gives them the ick.
Exactly.
Yes.
It gives them the ick.
Yep.
Very similar to the girls, where the Tyranids will actively be consuming the biological. What are they called? The biomass.
Biomass,
And
yep.
if girls get involved, they just go nope, nope, nope. Where you've jumped into that pool, cut that pool off right now. Do
Yeah.
not absorb anything from it.
Yeah.
I believe they will be looking at the Malstrains doing the same thing.
Oh, 100%.
I believe the Tyranid hive mind knows that if they absorb the Malstrain, they will become Malstrain.
Oh,
They
wow.
will no longer be Tyranid. They
Wow.
will be Malstrain Tyranid, which, weirdly enough, Hermiatus did a good job.
Yeah,
He's
he's
turned Necromunda Tyranid proof.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's done his tyrannid proofing, but more on a global scale in the sense of,
Yes.
I created something so disgusting and unwanted that the big nasty out on the fringes of the galaxy, or within the heart of the galaxy now, will decide we're not going there. That is a pile of dog doo doo. I do not want to put my tendrils into. So, yeah, right. But anyway, I totally agree with what you're saying there. And there's probably a little bit more that we need to explore with the fact that the Genestealers don't want to come to it. And that, I guess, that exploration is going to be talking about the gangs and how particular Genestealer infected gangs don't want to interact with Malstrain gangs. But I do want to... Yeah, I know. When you were talking about it, I'm like, stop, don't mention it, because I know we're going to talk about it a little bit later. But back to the actual patriarch. The last thing I sort of want to say about it is it's not really known what are the remains of the patriarch. Do you know what I mean? And I think that psychic storm about what you're talking about, I think it's probably tapped into it. And this is the information I was talking about with regard to Hermiatus, is he was dealing with a psycho that is just on a completely another level. It was playing 4D chess to his whatever he was playing, checkers. So that's where I think it infected Hermiatus. But I think also if it is able to manifest itself into almost like a godlike being, then perhaps then it's a really an honest and true threat to all of Necromunda and the surrounding regions. But I still think that it's not a full bag of chips either, that particular patriarch. I think
Oh, hell no.
it's been tortured and butchered and corrupted, and it's left itself in this dark hollow of a world, and its connection to its Tyranid forefathers or its Tyranid fleet is broken and so corrupted that it has basically had its own cell in which to talk to itself, if that makes sense. And so it's probably gone a little bit like, what is it, cabin? It's got a bit of cabin fever, so with Secundus being its cabin.
It's gone a little bit donkey-brained, I believe, is the scientific term.
Yeah. So now when it begins to spread its tendrils, when it begins to see its concept of what domination is, of what power is, I think it's all going to be this wildly corrupted existence that the Underhells would have now warped and mutated even more so. Because it even says that it gets its brood scum to fight amongst themselves over its...
Yes.
Yeah, over like little matters within itself. It has a lot of like machinations of a chaos god in the sense that I want you to go kill 200 of those brood scum. Why? Because they're the Banksy that they put up about me was terrible. So I didn't like that bit of spray painting. I'm going to get them stomped out. So I could see it having these missions and objectives coming up within its own brain, which is understandably so, because, and we mentioned this about Secundus in the Secundus episode, is the fact that a lot of the brood scum and a lot of what goes on within Secundus is very incestuous. there isn't this
Oh, yeah.
there isn't this vast untapped population for the patriarch to constantly be sampling and delving its mind into. So when it gets these small filterings of explorers and tech explorers and so forth coming in, they are these like things that whet its appetite. But by the day and day, it deals with the standard brood scum. It deals with the brains and the psychic potential and the psychic traces of things that it knows so well that they become like, the back of your hand, basically. So,
Hear me out on this.
okay, cool.
Those different paintings. Remember, I said before, I
Yeah.
believe that the different brood scum, I'll call them tribes.
Yep. I like
Clans. I like the term clan,
that. Yeah,
actually.
I like tribe, but go on.
These different tribal clans of brood scum, seeing their god all in a different form. We see it. You and my clan see it as an orange-skinned, purple-chitined, seven-armed creature,
Yep.
and yours see it as a green-fleshed, burgundy-chitined, four-armed creature.
Yep.
So we have our different visions of this god, and with these lashings, it's basically it's multiple personality disorder. I believe each of these images is the patriarch. I believe each of them is possibly a different personality within this combined psychic consciousness that makes up the patriarch.
Right, okay.
And these whims, it's almost it's bipolar and multiple personalities dialed up to 15.
Yeah.
And the personalities themselves are at war with each other. So these brood scum, it gets into their brain. God wants me to go and kill everyone in this part of the Underhells. Okay, you got it. It's what God wants us to do. And it's almost crusading against itself. And
It's got a bit of the whole Smeagol golem type.
yes,
Yeah,
perfect.
righto. Yeah.
Perfect. Where it's actively attempting to hurt itself, possibly because it doesn't know how else to act given what's happened. But what you've said there, also, these brood scum, they are so inbred, like you can get them in mixed grain or wholemeal. Like they are genetic dead ends.
Yeah.
So what you're saying there about we can get rid of them. They may not produce viable offspring anymore
Yeah, true.
because their genetic puddle isn't exactly working anymore.
Yeah.
So when people do come into the Underhells, when people do enter the exclusion zone, it's getting the gangs it's able to, the forces it's able to, not just to kill the invaders, but to capture them. And
Yeah, absolutely.
it needs to bring in
Yep.
fresh blood.
Yep. Yeah, and it does state that. It's just like, they capture as much as they kill. Do you know what I mean? And because it needs those things. But unfortunately, they're just a drop in the ocean for the patriarch. And it sort of makes sense as to why it would not be like fully mentally functioning. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It has gone mad. It's nature, which we talked about within the Genestealer cult episode. The nature of these beings, of what they do, the nature of the Genestealers is to basically go out there and create more bodies for the fleet. You know what I mean?
Well,
more food.
This patriarch you and I have created, Games Workshop might turn around and be like, what are you talking about? Nah, man, it's just a giant mutant patriarch. Like, you guys are weird. But
No, it's
in
canon.
my mind, it's canon.
Yeah.
Thanks, James. Carry on making those morals for us, Jimmy.
Yeah.
But I believe that this patriarch has almost become a personification of the Malstrain brood mind. Now, think about it this way. If you look up brood mind, the brood mind is the name given by a Genestealer cult by the psychic Gestalt collective consciousness shared by every member of the cult and directed by its Genestealer patriarch. If you have a bunch of irradiated, let's be honest, inbred mutant degenerates making up your collective Gestalt consciousness, don't you think you'd be a little insane as well?
Hey, mate, please do not talk about my workplace like that. Sorry, boys.
Well, shout out to the Dirk Grubs. But that's,
I
it.
totally
So,
agree. Like, it's, the old adage of like sport is like, if you want to get better, go play with better players. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then you end up,
or you are what you eat.
there you go. Yeah. So you have this patriarch just living in a world where everything is, its psychic potential is like dumb to doornail. That's the scale it deals with, and so it's dealing with itself, who is an incredible psychic, almost godlike presence, and everything that it's trying to have a discussion with is just like,
It's three servitors screaming the word tabernacle.
Exactly, and then and unfortunately that's the best. That is the best of what it can amass.
Which is why when you have the opportunity to absorb these explorers and scavengers and, let's be honest, other Genestealer cult gangs, you're able to expand. You're able to grow your consciousness. And I think one of the reasons the Genestealer patriarch is so desperate to break out of the dust wall to expand further isn't just to claim Necromunda for itself, but it needs to gain its sanity back. It needs to spread beyond this tiny genetic puddle and dip on into that genetic ocean.
Do you know what? I don't deserve to play a game like Necromunda, because as you talk about it like that, I kind of feel sorry for it. And I'm just like, I'll go on. Give him a small hive. Give him just a nice snack board that he can just...
It's your idea about the planet where they're like, listen, let's just put a cult in that hive. They'll do crazy good production, but we're going to need to use those weapons to fight the Tyranid fleet they're going to attract. And it's just like, we're making all this money, but we're spending a lot more on Tyranid defense.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that's sort of my mindset of like, give him a small hive and then we'll just fight that hive, but at least it won't be insane, and then maybe that would, allow us to send more Archaeotech hunters into Secundus, and we get some more tech out of that, but then we lose more of them because we're sending more of them. Yeah. So,
hey guys, he's not insane anymore, and now all of the PDF have 3 arms. I don't know what's going on, but look at the march. It's like they are one mind.
Yeah, it's beautiful. They only give you high 15s though, which is weird.
Yeah, it's kind of cool though.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, okay, so that's the patriarch.
Yeah.
So we're in agreement. It's now canon. He is simply a psychic entity that randomly becomes physical in order to purge his lesser genetically gifted children.
Yes, and caveat to that is on the brink of godhood.
I like it.
Very minor god.
Yep.
Yep. Tyranid god.
Very.
Yes.
Yeah. Still has more followers than Malal. So, do we want to look at the interactions between the now 2 very distinct Genestealer cult factions?
Well, the Malstrain cult and the Genestealer cult is the way I look at them. So I think so, because we touched on it originally here, a little bit here. We know there is an angst between the two of them, and there is, the Genestealer cult on Necromunda is something that is brought into the planet almost 24/7.
Like people who play Warhammer and people who play Magic the Gathering. Like, we're kind of the same type of nerd, but we don't like each other. Or it's people who play 40k. No, people who play Necromunda and people who play Kill Team. We're kind of the same, but we're very different.
But we do like each other?
We're kind of like... I like some Kill Team players. I'm starting to play Kill Team, so I'm kind of cool with it.
When you mentioned Warhammer and Magic, I was like, does that mean I don't like myself? I play both.
nerd. But this is more like people who...
I've got it for you. Because you don't understand sport, I'll tell you exactly what it is.
All right,
It's
go.
rugby union and rugby league. Right? So people who play rugby union, that's our sport. Are you Googling it to find out what it is?
No, I understand rugby.
Oh, okay. So there's people who play...
I have multiple family members who are literally professional rugby players.
Oh, right. What happened to you?
I'm far too cute.
No, God. That's exactly it. So, yeah, you have people who play rugby, people who play rugby union. There's code swaps all the time where a union player will go play league and the league player. So you can intermingle with each other and so forth. But traditionally, they just...
You want to punch each other in the face.
Exactly. Years ago, I was in Samoa. I'm going to say like 10 years, probably more than. And we were there during a rugby union game. And it was Samoa. I can't even remember who they were playing. And the absolute hatred that the rugby league fans had of union was just ridiculous. You know, if we mentioned we were going to go see that game, they'd just be like, oh, why don't you go watch a real man sport and blah, blah, blah. And then all the union fans would get really angry. And to the point where I had mentioned that we were there to watch union. And all these rugby league people were just giving us hell. And all these Samoan rugby union fans suddenly got up and were like defending us. Yeah, just kind of like, I was like, I don't need defending, I don't care. Like, I'm not that invested in the issue. But yeah, it became really like, you know, quite heated. But if you were to show the sport to the uninitiated, they would just go, yeah, it's the same thing, yeah? And that's the way I look at the Malstrain and the Genestealer cults, is people would just go, you know, an uninformed or you know, a less than knowledgeable citizen would just go, yeah, three arms, same. Like,
Yeah, three
kill 'em
arms, three
both.
arms. Ridges.
Yep.
Like, you're either Genestealer cultists or Scottish. What are you?
Why do you do this?
I'm trying to pick a new nemesis, and
Pick the Irish.
I already did. But no, I agree with you. People are going to look at them and go, it's the same thing. And I think even amongst a lot of the learned people within 40k, they would be looking at it as the same thing. Your average space marine is going to go, Xenos abomination. Kush.
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to go, actually, are you a Malstrain? Let me see your Malstrain card. It'll just go, you're all Xenos.
Are you an Ymgarl cultist?
Yeah.
I see you with that Louis Vuitton. No, they're just going to go Xenos abomination.
Yep.
But and it's always been sort of, I say always, they've only existed for like a year, 2 years or something. But people have always been talking about it. It's like, what do you think the Malstrains and the regular Genestealer cult are going to be? I've said from day dot, I believe they would be enemies because we know they are technically two separate things. But we have official confirmation.
Yes.
Now, interestingly, where Malstrain cults emerge in hives and outland settlements, they are often in opposition to the more stable strains of the Genestealer plague. From time to time, Genestealer spore will be brought to Necromunda on one of the billions upon billions of cargo containers endlessly passing through the Eye of Selene. Sometimes these make their way down into the Underhive where they can take root, and as the fledgling cult grows, it detects the corrupted psychic signal of the Malstrain patriarch, projected from the ruins of Secundus. As often as not, this signal repels the cult, though some do succumb to its call and make their way to the abyss to be absorbed into the Malstrain cult. Now, I love this because the majority of them are going, oh, no, yuck.
Yeah.
I want nothing to do with it. What? Mushrooms and butter. In reality, some of them are going to be psychically not strong enough to fight against the patriarch. They're going to give in and they're going to go. and they are going to be absorbed into that gene pool. And I believe they will continue to be their existing strain of cultists, that first, second, third, fourth, fifth generation.
Oh, yes.
And they will simply bring a new batch of blood to that royal family.
Yeah, so eventually
they'll bring it in.
that'll bleed out. You could really do an absolutely awesome game from
Dude,
this.
you take the Acolyte hybrid kit and the Malstrain kit.
Yep.
Oh, man. That's what I'm going to do for those Malstrains I do for scummers, actually. I'm doing an absorbed cult. Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what it would be for me is it would be the cult leader. Whoever's this gang leader or whatever is the one who's bringing them along. He's the one who's hearing the call, and he's taking the rest of the gang with him. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So there would be some in there who would try to fight it. They'd be wiped out and so forth. So you would have this small cadre, say maybe 3, or maybe not 3, but 4 to 5 members of the original who either went, yes, I hear the psychic call of the patriarch, I want to go there, or have said, oh, I saw you kill everybody else, so I'm on your side. Yeah, I just,
Love you.
Yep, yeah. Love you, Big Patty. Which is patriarch. So the gang idea would be sick because it would just be this cluster who are fully devoted to the patriarch but understand the importance of their purity, if you know what I mean, their genetic
The best
purity.
part is, he's not even their patriarch. They've come from somewhere else.
Yeah,
He's dominated them mentally.
And this is
He's
what I'm saying,
overridden
psychic
their
god.
loyalties.
Yeah. Psychic god.
He's exactly what you're saying. Everything we're talking about is leading towards the inevitable, obvious conclusion that the Malstrain patriarch is becoming a tyrannid god localized on Necromunda. But just going back to the physical side of it, when actual agents of the Malstrain encounter such an off-world Xenos cult, the result is almost always the destruction of the latter. The Malstrain overwhelms the normal Genestealer life cycle, and with a generation, the new strain has consumed its followers. That's what I'm saying. You started saying it, and then we got onto that whole psychic god thing. The blood comes in, and it's immediately overridden. You give a generation, maybe 2, and all of a sudden, your input is gone.
This gang,
you are pure Malstrain. Again, pure Malstrain. It's such a horrible thing to say. You are pure Malstrain Genestealer cult.
Yeah.
Like I love this.
100%.
And the idea, a whole campaign, Genestealer versus Genestealer.
Oh my god!
Get half your players
campaign.
playing Malstrain, half your players playing, like regular Genestealer cults, but then have. No, you know what? Do it in thirds. 1/3 Malstrain, 1/3 Genestealer cult of either mixed or infected gangs, and the rest of them are regular gangs or enforcers. And you're playing, and each time you're defeated or you come into contact with them, you run the chance of being infected and having to defect to one of those sides.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And like, there'd be a good chance you wouldn't be infected. Yeah. So, like,
but not your whole gang, but individual. Can you imagine losing a champion to like one of the Genestealer gangs? All of a sudden, they've got this, this Goliath stimmer.
Yeah.
In a regular Genestealer cult game, like that would be so cool to do, man.
What you do is you allow the Genestealer and the Malstrain players to take a Malstrain Genestealer and a purestrain Genestealer, and whoever they take down in close combat on a roll of 1 has been omniposited. Overposited, sorry. Whoever they take down in combat has been overposited.
Yeah.
And then you roll this on a roll of 1, they succumb to
infected. They succumb and they defect.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
So they might lose some skills. Maybe they lose some of their equipment as they sort of like scramble away from the battlefield.
I reckon it just clicks, and then that night when they're all back at the hideout, your Death Maiden or your Juve or your whatever goes, just going to go to the bathroom, guys, or just heading down to 7-Eleven. Yeah, you guys want anything? Slurpees? Slurpees? All right, cool. I'll be back in a minute, yeah? And next thing you know, you don't see them for weeks.
Yeah.
And next time you see them, there's little Genestealer cult icons hanging from their armor, and they've got like the purple worm form painted on their face, and you're like, I'm pretty sure that's Steve.
Where's my
Steve!
Slurpee?
Steve! Yeah, that's Steve.
Yep.
That's definitely Steve. Oh, good. No, he's shooting at us. He's shooting at us. All right, cool.
And would have like 7 empty Slurpee cups.
Yeah.
And that would be the main reason for the anger.
Yeah.
He'd be like, you son of a... I was so thirsty. You jerk. But just touching on that gang idea, I would have... And we'll go back because I want to finish this, what we're talking about here. But I would definitely have a hybrid, a true hybrid, a Primarchi, and a Purei.
Yes.
Within the gang. So you have each one of those represented. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, from this campaign, you would allow pretty much every gang to take a Genestealer. Whether it be Malstrains, Genestealer. And then it would be, the ones who are on the side of the enforcers. Maybe it's a particular small hive or settlement or whatever that is just being overrun by Genestealer infection. And so the Malstrain gangs are sent out there to stomp it out. To say, no.
Oh, dude, yes.
This is our street. You got to wear purple. And they're like, yeah, well, we're wearing lilac. And it's like, no, we wear purple in this hood. Bang, bang, bang. And then it's the enforcers who basically rally the gangs together and say...
Oh,
look,
your arbitrator gang would have to play enforcers.
Yeah, it's like, you may not like each other, you may want to kill each other, but I will tell you right now, if we don't stop this, there is...
We're all dead.
Yeah, there's an exterminatus coming for us. You know what I mean? Whether it be the Genestealers wiping us out or some low-level Inquisitor going, we just take out that entire hive to sort them out.
Do you really want to be Secundus 2.0?
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
you don't.
Yeah. That'd be a great way to run it. And so you just have them fighting alongside like that. But anyway, yes, continuing on with our Genestealer Malstrain... our Genestealer cult now, Malstrain angst that they have with each other. I really was really happy that you get to this bit where they actually go off and hunt down the Genestealer gangs. I would see it as a patriarch saying, my realm is being threatened here. Do you know what I mean? Yes, like when the tax collector comes, which is the Tyranid fleet, they will know that I cannot pay up for what has happened here, and I need to take these out. But yeah.
You know what this reminds me of? Do you remember the movie Blade 2, where there was the new type of vampire? It wasn't the normal vampires; they were the Reapers. It was like a viral strain of vampirism that changed them. They had the crazy opening chin mouth things.
Yeah.
That's how I'm seeing the Malstrains and the regular Genestealer cult, because Reapers could infect other vampires.
Yeah.
And if they'd been left to go, they would have destroyed everything.
Yeah. Because they almost consume, sort of thing.
They consume. They consume. They don't just spread like Genestealer cults or vampires. They consume like Malstrains.
Yes.
And if anything, you'd almost see the Genestealer cults, or like the original cult of the Second Son, and some of these subsidiary cults coming together and just sort of going, we need to start using our influence to fight the Malstrains. We need to stop them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. I really want to play a bunch of Genestealers against a bunch of Malstrains now. I think that'd be so much fun.
Oh, it'd be just a great campaign to be part of, because, you're fighting against this larger threat, which is not a common thing to be fighting on in Necromunda. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're more sort of like trying to mete out your own little bit of the planet or your own little bit of the hive. So this is almost like fighting for the greater good of your particular settlement or hive.
The greater brood.
The greater brood. Well, against the greater brood. The other thing is as well that needs to be mentioned is that the Malstrain is still spreading across Necromunda.
Oh,
Like, what we talked about is the Malstrain broods themselves, the gangs themselves, are probably not as prevalent as I mentioned earlier. And you said, with the breakdown of the tunnels and so forth and Yardland going, they can actually start to get out. But the infection of the Malstrain across other gangs, so that that's taint, that Genestealer taint, is most certainly out there. And it says here that should the patriarch ever escape the Secundant Abyss, it would find a world already infested with proto-Malstrain cults, each ready and waiting to thrive under the direction of their ancient master and take their rightful place as alien inheritors of Necromunda.
That's what I'm talking about, man. The gangs are spreading.
Yes, but it reiterates the point, psychic Genestealer god. Do you know what I mean? It would see itself as the ruler of Necromunda.
Oh, man. Almost like how the Emperor saw himself as the ruler of the free galaxy.
And rightly so, yes.
So, what we might do is start talking about the actual different parts that make up both the Genestealer cult and the Malstrain cult gangs. Now, I think the easiest place to start here is probably the Genestealer cults themselves. We've talked a lot about what makes them up, like the armies and their sort of civilization, I guess.
Obviously they function differently in Necromunda as well. So we're not, you're not taking all the options that we talked about within the Genestealer cult, 40k army. So
unless you listen to our Patreon, at which point we are literally telling you how to take each of those.
Yeah, that's true.
Each of those named characters as part of a Necromunda gang. Yeah. And, while I've got you here, if you are enjoying the show and you are interested in supporting the podcast, please shoot over to patreon.com/the Underhive Lorekeepers podcast. Despite Nathan trying to stop all of our opening, we are 100% funded by the goodwill of our audience, that we do this for the love of our hobby. And each month we actually have Patreon exclusive episodes, as well as competitions, polls on episodes, and other bonus content. At the moment we are very Genestealer cult centric. In fact, as you may have just gotten, we're doing a series on the different characters from the Genestealer cult army and how we would use them and build gangs around them within Necromunda. If you are looking for another way to support us, get onto our social media, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. A like and subscribe helps us grow and get our particular brand of lore out into the world. All of our links will be in the show notes. And don't forget to give us a 5-star review on your preferred podcast platform. The whole opening's now done. Carry on.
Intro boy. Okay. You happy? Happy you got your intro in? Ruined everybody's podcast?
Yep.
Righto, let's get back to the episode that we all want to hear and not the intro that I think at least 6 people emailed us about saying that we couldn't possibly do a short intro, which we haven't done, and everything that Sam did doesn't count. Right, so within the makeup of the Genestealer cult gang as well, you have this, there's probably not a great deal of option, and coincidentally as well, that's probably the same that's happening with the Malstrains. But I'll just reel off...
The gangs by themselves do not allow a lot of variation.
Yeah, they're very, very linear, very this is what you get, which is understandable because I think you can have infected gangs, which are a little bit more thematic, a little bit more fun. Definitely a lot more gang idea creation from those ones. But within the Genestealer cult, you have the cult adept, the cult alpha, hybrids, aberrants, and familiars. And we'll just go over those for people who don't know them. The adept is a leader for your gang, which is basically a psychic leader. So
the Magos.
The Magos, yeah. The one who gets the direct telepathic link to the hive mind, saying, go steal 16 bottles of wild snake because that's going to destabilize the economy in this area and will help the spread of the gang.
Because all I want, I understand Secundus sucks, and all I want to do right now is drink wild snake.
Yeah, exactly. That's what the Magos would be doing, just being like, I've come up with a new mission to get a new
Hold on.
car.
I just had an idea of artistic genius. Do you know the song "Heaven Is a Half Pipe" by OPM? It's a song from like the early 2000s. If I die before I
Oh, yeah,
wake,
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
at least in heaven I can skate. I've just had an idea.
Oh, God. Yep.
If I die before I wake, at least in Secundus I drink snake. 'Cause right now in Primus I can't do jack without enforcers on my back.
That's actually quite good. Well done. Please, we'll count that as part of the intro. You don't have to do any more.
Now heaven would be a DJ, spinning pound all night long, and in Secundus I'd be just kicking back with the Emperor passing me gast. And if you don't believe in the Emperor, then the Chaos Gods are greater brood. And while Necromunda is warring, in Secundus we got no feud, singing, if I die before I wake, at least in Secundus I can snake. Okay, I'm gonna stop because
No,
we
do
have
you know
a
what?
podcast to do.
I'm really happy that we got to the end of the episode. Congratulations. It's a different way to get there, but we got there, folks. You guys have a lovely time. Peace out.
Sorry, I just got this idea
That's a
of you
microphone drop.
with this Magos just being like, go get me a lot of wild snake. Because he's just sitting in Secundus like, I am so bored.
Yeah, yeah.
Also,
It's like from the Guardians movies. Like, I need that guy's arm. You
yeah,
know?
what do you think, guys? It'd be really funny.
Yeah.
Why do you need 16 bottles of wild snake, Magos? It's just going to be really funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so I managed to sing for another episode.
Yes, well
Please
done.
continue with what you were talking
We
about.
will get there. We're going to have our musical episode at one stage, which is the entire thing will be sung. Probably not by us. But then you have your cult alpha, which is your basically like fighter styled leader. So they're
Yeah, your
three-armed, punch you to death,
your
claw you to
Primus.
death. Yeah, your Primus. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. From there you have your
So,
hybrids.
just quickly on those two, they show the difference as to how you want to build the leadership of your regular Genestealer cult.
Yeah, okay.
Are you going
Yeah.
mental or physical? Are you going weird power manipulation
Yeah. Yeah.
or just straight, outright physical dominance? Like, we're definitely knocking through these very quickly. We're going to knock through a few of these very quickly.
It's about the Malstrains.
Then Malstrains. We've talked about them for the last two episodes. There's nothing we haven't already gone over. Like,
Yeah.
as I've said, then people may disagree with me, and if you do disagree, please let us know. Underhive lorekeepers@gmail.com, or any of our social medias. I don't do much at work, but the plain Genestealer cult and Malstrain gangs, I think, are very plain.
Yes,
I
yeah.
think once you get into infected gangs is where they get very interesting. But please continue hybrids.
Well, that's what I was saying as well. It's like if you want to build a straight up Genestealer cult gang or a straight up Malstrain gang, just like be very have a lot of imagination to explore is what I would say, because
yes.
they don't really lead you down a pathway of like having this character you could do X, Y, and Z with. But anyway, the next one I'll talk about is the hybrids, and the hybrids are just your foot soldiers. So they're your regular doodads, you guys who are slinging the autogun. I think they have a 3-arm option in there as well, so that you can make them look a little bit different.
This is one thing I love. So when you hire hybrids, whether they are the hybrid acolytes or the neophyte hybrids, so your champions or your gangers, when you hire them for the 85 or 45 credits respectively, by default, they are a later generation. They're that third, fourth
Yeah.
generation, right? You can pay 45 credits to make them like a second or third generation. Or actually probably second generation. And it gives them a third arm that they
Yeah.
can use in combat. I love the fact where it's like, yeah, you've got a bonus. You can pay for that bonus, but this is where, like we were talking about before, that Malstrain infected Genestealer cult gang.
Yeah.
I would be, firstly, I would be, as an arbitrator, if someone said they wanted to put a Malstrain infection on their Genestealer cult gang, I would tear their rotator cuff with how hard I high-fived them for that idea. Like,
Yeah.
they genuine emergency surgery.
Yeah.
And I would immediately be saying, go third arm on those things, because I want to see three-armed brood scum hybrid acolytes.
Yeah, but if it's going to be Malstrain infected, it would have like the weird knobbly bone
Yes.
growth coming out of it and so
Yes.
forth, to really make it look Malstrainy. Do you know what I mean? So really go over the top with it and get like the weird claws that they have. Don't have just like the standard three little pincer type things.
Oh,
just,
nah, man.
Yeah,
Mix
just have
them
some.
up, like-
Mix them up. Make them look really corrupt and weird. Modify the legs. Modify everything on them to make them just look a little bit.
Make friends with a Tyrannid player and just start raiding his bits. Like warrior arms on the Genestealers, or you're an aberrant with a huge warrior arm and like the bone plates and that sort of stuff. Yes.
100%.
Make
Well,
friends with a Wood Elf player and steal bits of Dryads.
Oh, the dry.
Like,
I looked at
dude.
that. That is such a good way to really accentuate some crazy Malstrain nonsense. But
I've got a
my
gang idea.
God,
I'm
gang
not gonna use
idea.
it till the end.
Oh my
No,
god,
don't,
gang idea.
don't. Save it.
Gang
save
idea.
It, save it.
Gang idea from me. No, it's probably the same one, but my one's better. Right. So that ties us into the aberrants, right? So
Yes.
the aberrants for me are the core part of a Genestealer cult gang. That's where you get
Yes.
to have loads of fun. That's where you get to explore a little bit more, because they're definitely down the pathway of a lot more mutation. So you can have them heavily mutated within the concept of what a Genestealer cult member would look like, but you try to keep the aesthetic of where they're at within their hive. You know, are they part of a pumping station crew? Are they part of the air filtering crew?
I
Yes.
have a some aberrants here. So there's an aberrant, right?
Yep.
And the Malstrain head is like not way too big, but it is clearly too big for this aberrant.
But that's okay.
And that is perfect.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
Yeah,
they would
like
look
it's obviously too large for him.
Yeah, yeah.
But oh, dude.
That would look so cool. So a
I had
Malstrain,
squats to build.
a Malstrain infected Genestealer cult gang would look really, really awesome, because it's got all that modern new stuff that you could use. But like the other thing as well, I think with the Genestealer cult gang on Necromunda, they don't have to be miners. They don't have to be in the mining gear. Do you know what I mean?
Hell no.
Yeah, dress
Hell
them
no.
up completely differently. Like get like a Cawdor member and all these other
this
different
is-
members who are attracted to the gang.
This is any humanoid kit. Get Orlocks. They don't have to be Orlocks. They can literally just be an ash waste mining crew.
Yep.
Get a box of Cadians. Go get a standard Cadian squad, and then take your Genestealer cult upgrade kit from the Brood Brothers kill team, and bash that together. Just buy the Brood Brothers kill team. There you go. And they are PDF, or they are Dust Wall
Yep.
veterans,
Yep.
or
Dustwall veterans would be so cool.
Dust Wall veterans would be
It
sick.
makes so much sense as well. Sergeant comes back into the hive, descends further down into the hive because he hears the call.
Visiting
of the
his
patriarch.
family.
Yep.
He's from Hive, you know,
Traziel.
Traziel, and is there visiting family, and there's just happens to be a trader in their dome, and it's, hey, what's this? Bing, bang, boom, and all of a sudden he says to the squad, because they're all on leave, oh, hey, there's a new bar opened down from where my family's from. Jenkins, why don't you and Wallace come with me? Come for a drink tonight.
Yeah, yeah.
You got it, Sarge. And then, oh, hey, why don't you guys come with us tonight? Got it, Sarge. And then all of a sudden that whole squad's infected. Boom. You've literally just bought a single kill team, the Brood Brothers.
Yeah,
and now you have a 10-strong gang.
Yep.
Done.
But see, I would take that a step further and say that there's a psychic imprint from them being on the dust wall, and so they're more susceptible to the Malstrain. You know what I mean? So they do get infected by the Genestealer cult, and then they just hit with the Malstrain goodness.
They go back to the wall on deployment, and one day just climb the fence. They drop down, and they're just like, we're going that way.
Yep. And then they come out a year later, 2 years later. You know what I mean? So you really butcher them up, make all their equipment look a little bit different and so forth. And they come back out to go back into one of the hives because they want to try and spread the Malstrain.
Yeah.
That's a sick idea. So, and then lastly, within the Genestealer cults, we wanted to pump through these so we could talk more Malstrain.
Yes.
You have the familiars, which are,
tiny psychic goblins.
They're just cute. Anybody who's killing a Genestealer familiar is just, you're just not doing the right thing by yourself. They're just cute little things. I see a Genestealer familiar as like just a really angry gutter cat.
They're tiny Xenos toddlers.
Yeah, but like with a terrible attitude. Absolutely.
Toddlers.
Yeah, there you go.
Fun story. Everyone's heard me talk about the Goblin Juve.
Yeah.
But in fact, even Chris, the other night we were chatting with him, but he said, you never talk about your second kid. I'm like, he goes, what's her name? And I said, because he knows Goblin Juve. And I said, well, I call her my little gang queen, but her name's changed. I was using a metal ruler to rule something just behind me here to measure, so I was drawing up an idea for some terrain. She's gone to grab the ruler, and I've taken it away from her. I'm like, no, that's Daddy's. No. She's gone to grab it again, and I'm like, no. And I've put it back down, and she sort of goes, okay, yep, cool. And I'm drawing with the marker on the terrain there, and she picks up the metal ruler and smacks me clean across the back of the knuckles and goes, no! And so she's now the Mother Superior, because I see a fantastic career for her, basically just screaming at Sisters Repentia.
Yeah, and just going, no!
Yeah,
no!
Just praise the
Repent
Emperor.
harder.
No! You didn't praise hard enough!
And so we have the Goblin Juve and the Mother Superior.
And the Mother
I can
Superior.
tell you have a favourite. Right?
Yeah, my cats.
Or as we like to call them, Genestealer cult familiars.
The tiny familiars.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, so the next bit that we actually want to talk about is the construction of the Malstrain gang. So this is obviously the newest gang basically out there. And within this you have Tyrannomites, which are your little exotic beasts, which fly around with your Malstrain.
Pyramites.
Tyrannomites? That's what I said.
Tyrannomites. You said Tyrannomites?
Yeah, they're Tyranids. Tyrannomites, yes. And you have the Brood Scum, which are your foot sloggers. So they are your go off and do a job type creature. The only thing that I do not like about the Brood Scum is that you cannot give them the third arm. Do you know what I mean? You can't really...
Yes.
Go on.
And I believe it's because they are almost too human to be that way. I kind of see them the way you look at like Croot Hounds or the Crutox within the Croot sort of species.
Oh, yeah.
They are evolutionary dead ends. They can no longer evolve any other way.
Yep.
Just like the Crutox and the Croot Hounds. I see the Brood Scum as the gene pool has gotten shallower and shallower and shallower, that the mutation, the deviation has gone away from them, and they are now just terrible humans. They got the mucked up faces, that sort of thing. but I don't believe them having the strength and speed and power and skill
Yeah.
of the Malstrains anymore.
So, for me, though, why don't they grow a third arm? Why don't they have all that? Because, if Hermiatus' imprint upon them is that they could potentially grow...
They could give birth to any generation.
Yeah.
I believe the brood scum, once they get to this point, once they're out of basically, let's be honest, breeding chambers, they're going to be bringing in fresh blood and trying to populate as much as possible.
I see the way that you're looking at the brood scum now. Maybe they've gone into a breeding chamber and they're just like, no, you're useless.
You're not genetic. They're basically, they're your kind. They're manvents. They're not genetically viable anymore. Like they're just producing more brood scum with their offspring.
Yeah. That's exactly when it dawned on me what you were thinking. So they have another brood scum and another brood scum, and they just kind of go, well, that's it. You're the end of the line. You're finished with. So you get thrown into the mass collectives that are out there to ensure that our Genestealers, our Malstrain Genestealers, have something to take the bullets while they go and actually hunt.
Exactly.
Right.
Like
So,
you are now, like you said before, just a foot slugger.
Yeah, right. So that makes sense about the actual brood scum. So from there, within the next makeup of the gang, you have the actual Malstrain Genestealer. Now, this is one of the major points of difference between a Malstrain gang and a Genestealer cult gang.
Yes.
Because they can actually take a Genestealer, where the Genestealer cults can't even... I don't think they even have access to a purestrain Genestealer, which is a massive difference, because a Malstrain Genestealer, from the stats point of view, is a scary, nasty, mental piece of work.
Interestingly enough, the Genestealer cult gang list came out in the Book of Ruin. And in the Book of Ruin, it also has the rules for Xenos abominations. And the example they give is the purestrain Genestealer. And the part that kills me there, like, if you look at... Let's have a look here. So, the purestrain Genestealer they give, it has a movement of 6 inches. Where is he? The Malstrain Genestealer, 6 inches.
Yep.
Weapon skill of 4+ versus the Malstrain, which is
3+.
Cool. Ballistic skill of 6+.
Yeah, I don't know why they've got such poor ballistic skill, but the Malstrain only has a ballistic skill of 6+ as well.
What are they shooting? Angry glances?
Oh, just harsh language, mate. They're allowed to.
Strength 4.
Strength 4 for the Malstrain as well.
Toughness 5.
Toughness 4 for the Malstrain.
Okay, so the purestrain is tougher, but not as skilled in close combat. I find that interesting.
Yeah.
4 wounds.
3 wounds.
Okay.
So tougher again.
Yep. 3+ for
initiative.
the initiative.
Yeah, 3+ for initiative, yeah.
4 attacks.
3 attacks.
Okay, then the mental stats, 7, 4, 6, 10.
Yeah, 7, 4, 6, 10. Yeah, same again.
Okay, so the purestrain is a more aggressive fighter and tougher, but not as skilled.
Yeah. So basically what you're looking at there is, and the reason I think they did it, is that you are going to be accessing more Malstrains within a gang.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You're going to get a single purestrain from your whatever creature you design,
Yeah.
But with a Malstrain, you potentially take 2, 3 in a gang list, 4 potentially. Do you know what I mean? They're only like 270 points each, so yeah, go for it.
You could go to town and get a few.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think 4. I think plus some brood scum. Oh no, because you need the ganger balance, so you'd probably go 3 plus.
Brood scum and gangers.
Yeah. No, I'm saying, so you need to have the balance in your gang between gangers and champions.
You need to have more gangers than you do champions. So you take one of those Genestealers as your leader,
Yep.
2 of them as champions.
Yep.
That's what, 2754, 34, 810 credits.
Oh, that'd be
And
enough.
then-
Yeah, 3, and it's 30 points per brood scum.
Okay,
Or 30
so
credits per
and then you
scum.
give them, I don't know, let's just give them
Who cares?
sawn-off shotguns with scatter ammo.
I wouldn't
They're
even give them
45
that.
credits each.
Would not.
So you need,
What's the
you
cheapest?
you
I'd
need
give
3 of them.
3 stub guns.
3
No.
stub guns, perfect. Dum-dum rounds.
Yeah. No, not even dum-dum rounds, just stub guns. Good luck. Hopefully you do die and get pushed out of the genetic pool. We're finished with you.
Man, you've gone military with that. I like it. But yes, why do Genestealer cults not have access to Genestealers?
Yeah, I know. It's bonkers. Who knows? We might see it coming, or we might see that. No, I don't think we will. We might see it coming. We might see it coming.
In our campaign, for that Genestealer campaign, if we ever do it, I would say to the Genestealer cult players, you can take a Genestealer, literally the same cost, same skills, same abilities as the Malstrain Genestealer.
Yep.
And
100%. And same points cost, just 270. There you go. Robert's your mother's brother. Enjoy.
Yep.
You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Perfect.
So, I guess the other one, there's 2 other options available to the Malstrain list that I sort of did cover a little bit, but the other one is the Malstrain Coalescence. Now this thing,
Yeah, buddy.
this thing is corrupted beyond all sense of sentience. It is not a full bag of chips at the absolute highest level. So the Coalescence, and we'll sort of put a bit of a caveat to this as well. The Coalescence is an awesome looking miniature in my opinion. However, there is absolutely stuff all in terms of information given to us about what it is, how it is, why it is. We have little tendrils of information, which makes sense because it's a tyranny thing. But it's a flying psychic champion. This is straight off the GW website. It's a flying champion, psychic champion available for Malstrain gangs and Malstrain corrupted gangs. It has access to its own weird powers as well. I'm not even joking. That's probably about the most information we have on it. I would love to see them expand and tell us exactly how this happens, but
I can tell you exactly how it happens. They rained nuclear fire and gravity weapons down on a hive that was full of mutated Malstrain monstrosities.
Yeah.
That's what I should have called you instead of the D's. No, I used it that last time, damn it. But I love this model because
the miniature itself is fantastic.
There's a person there.
Yeah.
And this person has this growth in them, around them, coming out of them. Like, it is clearly tyrannid and human and mutant and this tortured soul that wants to put all of its pain and frustration and hatred into your body.
Yeah.
And at the same time wants you to put it out of its own misery. And there's next to nothing written about it, and I like it that way. I don't want to learn anything about it.
A little bit of mystery. Right. Yeah, okay, that's an interesting way of looking at it. I personally think this exemplifies the psychic potential and the psychic strength of the Malstrain. This reiterates the fact of that's their shtick.
You've smashed that out of the park. The psychic potential of the Malstrain, not the patriarch, not the brood, but this new being that has been created. I think the coalescence is possibly a lesser form of the patriarch god.
Maybe it's the physical manifestation
of its psychic potential.
Yep.
So this is what this is. It's a champion, we know that, but this is the this is possibly one of those brood scum that the patriarch forces a tiny slither of its own being into,
Yeah.
and it turns into this horrific, weird monster.
Yeah, so
And
this is an
travels.
essence. It's all. Do you know when I
Yes.
first saw the miniature? Actually, I thought Demon Host, and now that we've talked more about the
Slaneshi
patriarch,
Demon Host.
yeah. No. This is a demon host of the patriarch. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, snap.
Yeah. So this is a demon host that the patriarch has created by saying, maybe there was a small psychic potential within the person. Maybe it was a brood scum, or maybe it was a member of Delacroix who's wandered down too far, and he's just gone, "Ooh, well,
So
you've got
you're
something
saying
wrong."
it's mutating the psychic potential within a host?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah. But
dude.
using its own essence to dial, as you say, dial it up to 15. Do you know what I mean?
I hate you. That is awesome.
So it just goes, here, have this little taste of this, and it just blows up. But it's such a tortured and warped looking being that, given what we've talked about in this episode about the patriarch, it actually is a beautiful representation of what the psyche of the patriarch would be. This
Yes.
warped, weird creature that doesn't quite understand itself. Do you know what I mean? It's the only thing that we've seen, in my opinion, that has such a distinctive tyrannid look to it in the fact of its armor plates and ridges that make it look a bit like a zoanthrope. So that zoanthrope look, plus the fact that it's clearly something human that has almost been slammed together with that aesthetic, makes it feel like this is what the mind of the patriarch is. Am I a tyrannid? Am I Secundus? Am I a Genestealer? All these things coming together. Am I Hermiatus? Am I the thing that he has created? Or has my existence gone on for so long that I don't understand what I am anymore? And all of this is beautifully represented in that miniature. So
Yeah.
the coalescence is a miniature that I think, if you really want your gang to embrace that corrupted, weird look of Secundus, it needs to go into your gang. I don't know how it would operate in game terms, but in terms of saying, this is really out there, put this in there, And like the Genestealers definitely do it, the Malstrains and the Tyramites. I keep getting them wrong.
The Tyramites.
Tyramites. They all look, yes, okay, very corrupted, but the coalescence, it's just at a completely another level. And it's just the beginning of a gang idea. Yeah, but I see it as almost warping. Do you know what I mean? And that the way that we've put into my head that the patriarch is a Genestealer god, I could see it actually doing this to a person. So it just starts to begin to pull at it and say, well, it needs this to move, and it needs this. It's almost like bestowing gifts upon it to create something that can aid its Malstrain Genestealers.
Oh, I love that.
It's cool. I love it. It's one of my favourite.
It's basically like an even worse version of the Delark Spiker. They
Yes.
pump that bad boy full of ghast,
Yep.
whereas the Coalescence is some poor brood scum bastard or some poor captured soul that has this tiny slither of psychic potential that the Malstrain is then putting its own taint into, and then it basically forcing evolution between the human and the tyrannid and the Malstrain components of its new existence. Oh, dude, that is sick.
Yeah, that's the way I see it. And the fact that we don't have much information about how and why they're formed, that's the way I would look at them. But they are bonkers. I guess the next unit that we need to look at, even though we probably should end on a high there talking about them, is the Tyramite.
I love the Tyramite. I
cute.
think they are the cutest little things, and they're basically when they were sort of previewed, I believe, on Warhammer Community, people were looking at them thinking they were almost the enslavers from old 40k lore.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie, I was one of them. I was like, we're getting enslavers. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Then they were revealed to be Tyramites, and Tyramites are they're actually very similar to the Coalescence, except instead of being forced into evolution by the Malstrain putting their essence into an individual, Tyramites are insects which have consumed the flesh of the dead brood scum or dead Malstrains or anything like that, and they effectively go from a tick to this flying. They're effectively a familiar.
Yeah, yeah.
They're
They
this
fulfill that
swollen.
role.
Yeah, they fulfill the role of the familiar, where instead of being that the murder toddler, they are this weird little ball thing. It floats almost like it's full of full of hydrogen.
Yeah, yeah.
They just sort of bounce along, and they have a little stinger, and they can sort of attack that way. They're fast, but they're not much else. They're a bodyguard unit.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're there for the idea of like, look out, sir, and that's about it.
But from a law point of view, the way I look at them is that the patriarch would have gone, there's nothing left for me within Secundus unless I get a fresh shipment of hunters or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
So, you know, the presence of an insect eating the flesh and then mutating, the patriarch could snap that out of existence anytime it wanted. Do you know what I mean? It'd just be like, even as the most rudimentary way of sending some brood scum after it to kill it, right? But it could just psychically squash it. But it allows these things to exist. It creates these things because it goes, these are shadows and memories of my time as a Genestealer, my time as a Tyrannid. Do you know what I mean? And it also allows for more things to be gathering within the pool of creatures and the pool of things that I can affect and infect. So
Well, the patriarch or the Malstrain itself, they basically just use the Tyramites as bodies. They are additional soldiers in the war for its mission to conquer the planet. And, the old beggars can't be choosers mindset of I may send 1,000 of them to battle and 997 of them die before they hit the lines, but those three, they're going to kill one each, and that's three more.
Yep.
That's three more road bumps I'm not having to drive over.
Yeah. And when you're potentially can amass, tens of thousands of these, and just have them floating, they sort of, they have the look of a very, very, very angry spore mine. So I guess if you're deploying them like that, just letting them just get stuck into wherever, then you become, they become this extra scary thing. I do like that they do have access to skills, though, in agility and cunning.
Yeah, because they're basically gas-filled toddlers with a stinger.
Yes, right. Gas-filled toddlers. That's a strange.
Toddlers are the worst.
They absolutely are. Yeah, yep. I totally agree.
See,
Especially
this
the
is the
gas-filled
thing. If
ones.
I spray paint my kids purple and tell them to, help me conquer a local gang, I'm a bad parent.
Yeah, that's only probably half the reason why you are, but yeah, sure. So, look, I mean, that covers off pretty much everything we wanted to talk about in regard to the gang makeups. The other thing that we can talk about is the infected gangs. But I feel like other than talking about the gangs themselves, all you're really doing is adding a psyker to your gang. This is from the Malstrain point of view. You add a psyker to your gang. You have access to brutes and exotic beasts, but you don't have access to your normal brutes and exotic beasts.
And you can add some freaking Genestealers and Coalescence and Tyramites
Yeah.
to your gang.
Yeah.
If you want to play Malstrains, play a Malstrain corrupted gang. This is purely just my opinion, but Cawdor, Dalark, Escher, Goliath, Orlok, and Van Zar can all be infected by both Genestealer cults and Malstrain. The Bad Zone Enforcers, Corpse Grinder cults, and Palanite Enforcers can all be infected by the Malstrains.
Yep.
And unfortunately, it doesn't say Squats or Genestealer cults, but let's just pretend it does. If it was up to me, everything can be infected by Genestealer cults or Malstrains.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with
Oh,
that.
man. And, yeah.
The only thing I would say is maybe not the Spire, I would say.
Spires are... I don't want to comment on that because I have opinions that you definitely could infect them with regular Genestealer cult, so Malstrain Genestealer cult would also make sense to me.
We need to do a Spire or Spira episode because we need to talk about how corrupted they could be. You know what I mean? But I can't see the Malstrain affecting them, in my opinion. Happy to have some feedback from it.
Yep. You know what? That's cool. We can talk about that later. Personally, I believe they definitely could be infected by both strains of Genestealer cult.
So very wrong. Okay.
And can you imagine taking a Spira Hunt leader and then infecting them with Malstrain, turning him into a Psyker? If you had him in like he's just jumping around, using his mind bullets, and then ripping you apart with like Malcadon claws.
Yeah,
man, that's sick.
Yeah. That's again one of those dangerous things that you like to do, where you're like, no, I've created the law to create the best thing that can kill everything, because the law says I can do it. It's fine.
I will never play a Malstrain infected Spira gang against you.
Yeah, exactly. Against me. I'm still not happy about your stupid little, what is it, the squat thing, the
claim jumper.
The claim jumper. Most
so good.
ridiculous character.
Well, this is the thing. Like when you become infected, one thing people forget is you immediately lose access to gang-specific exotic beasts and brutes.
Yeah.
So your Orloks, you just don't have access to your Lugger Servitors or your dogs. Your Dalark, you lose access to your Piscean Spectres, you lose access to your Worms.
Yeah.
Like, there are positives and negatives to everything. One thing a lot of people forget is if you infect a Cawdor gang with either Chaos Worship or Genestealer cult, you lose access to all of your prayers.
Oh, true. Yeah.
People forget that.
Yeah.
It's, in my opinion, the Cawdor prayer mechanic is so beautifully written, it is not worth the benefits of infection or chaos worship.
Yes, but that's when, if you've got good lore for it, that's when you have to
my dude, I would turn around and be like, what's that? You want to infect your redemptionists to make them Genestealer cult redemptionists that all they want to do is purge away the Malstrains, and they want to pray to the patriarch. You can use your damn it gang idea.
That's actually sick.
A group of militant redemptionists who actually believe the four-armed emperor is the patriarch, and their belief has interacted with the brood mind so perfectly that they somehow manage the acts of faith that have been created by the psychic resonance of
a version of of the acts. Yes.
Oh, dude.
Right. That would be such a cool gang.
We need to save the gang ideas for the end.
Yes. Right.
So we have 3 characters to talk about.
Look, yeah, I guess we better get into the only named characters that we have, which is not a lot. We have the Malstrain Alpha,
Oh, yeah, big boy.
Hermiatus, the second son, but also the Hermophage Magos, which is... We'll get to all of that. So I'm going to start with the Alpha because it's the Alpha, which is the first. Countless horrors are said to stalk the underhells of Hive Secundus, though few are as terrifying as the Malstrain Alpha, a twisted manifestation of the Malstrain patriarch. It is believed the Alpha is the direct offspring of the ancient Genestealer and represents the purest form of the Malstrain as engineered by the tech priest Hermiatus. Rumours of its existence have persisted since the first explorers braved the underhells, and there are numerous accounts of the creature suddenly appearing in the midst of a hunting party before tearing them to ragged, bloody meat. In addition to its astounding strength and speed, the Malstrain Alpha can contort its body into all manner of small spaces, of which there are multiple in the underhells. Thus it might appear from places hunters least expect it, unfolding from narrow pipes or pulling itself out of thin cracks between bulkheads. If this were not enough to count it amongst the most dangerous denizens of the underhells, the creature brings with it the madness of the Malstrain patriarch. It is said that to look into the Alpha's eyes is to glimpse the naked power of the Secundus broodmind and be driven insane by the experience. The raw power and alien terror the Malstrain Alpha inspires in all who even glimpse its mutated form makes it a much sought-after trophy by the spire hunters. It matters little that scores of spirers have met their end under its razor-sharp claws or needle-like fangs, as each new cadre of hunters believe they will be the ones to bring down the mighty beast. Next to the elusive Malstrain patriarch itself, the Alpha is the most frequent target of many spirer hunting parties, though few who seek out the creature return, and those that do inevitably bear scars of their encounter.
I think that the Malstrain Alpha genuinely is probably born within 1 or 2 generations of the Patriarch's first infection, and is the pure form of the Malstrain mutation before everything went all higgledy-piggledy with the nuclear craziness. Because if you look at the picture on the Warhammer community side, the chitin up that bad boy's back, it's not as like broken finger coral like the other Malstrains.
Yeah, right.
A lot of it looks very proper. It has some sort of coral back, but you notice it's not much. And yes, it's got the weird proportions, but that could just be a side effect of either time as it's growing, it's becoming more mutant, or maybe even Hermiatus's work. But I genuinely think it's like it's a child or a grandchild.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with that, and I think its environment is what is infecting it. Do you know what I mean? So it's even its arms don't look that wild, except for that one giant punchy claw,
which is amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing, but it definitely looks a lot more. I don't know, like scary, sentient, intelligent sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm totally on board with the fact that I think this is potentially the creature that Hermiatus wanted to make. I think without all the weird mutations happening to it, like its large arm, I think that would probably be the exact thing of what he would have been aiming for. Something that was undoubtedly terrifying, but a pure killing machine. Designed to just absolutely. And this is Hermiatus after he does the
old mind meld.
The old mind meld, yes. And this is what he would have been aiming for. This creature that is beyond saving. Do you know what I mean? Beyond beyond any kind of hope, whether it be hope that it could no longer infect anything else or hope against fighting against it. There would be nothing. You know what I mean? So it's a pure killer. But what I like about it is the sense that it is what is believed to be the perfect physical manifestation of the patriarch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if the patriarch were to clamber out of the underhells, this is what it would probably envisage itself with being, minus the psychic potential.
I see the coalescence as the personification of the Malstrains' psychic power. I see the alpha as the personification of its physical brutality.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree with you on the alpha. I think with the coalescence, though, the coalescence is its warped state of being. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
So the coalescence is definitely its psychic potential, and as you say, its psychic being, but how corrupted that brain and mind has become, whilst existing within Secundus.
He's very insane.
Yeah, it's a proper cocoa bananas. But the alpha itself, is, you do not want to meet that in a well-lit alley, let alone a dark alley sort of thing. What I do love about it, though, is it does have one little rule that I love called fade, where literally you just pick it up off the table and you put it down. But that rule embodies the law of what the creature is. You know what I mean? It's designed to scuttle away and sneak away and hide in the most unlikely of places.
But it's that classic Genestealer trick of, I'm going to dislocate all of my bones and chitin and squeeze myself because I'm actually a series of air-filled sacks that I'm gonna crawl through this space that is the size of a matchbook.
Yeah.
Because on the other side, there's a bunch of people not looking in this direction.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna eat their faces.
Yeah.
Exactly. That body morph twisting. It's pure Genestealer. I love it. Honestly, those Blood Angels, if there was just two of these if there was one alpha and a bunch of random regular Genestealers, those Blood Angels were screwed. I don't care how many of you are on that Space Hulk, you are not getting off alive. No. Ooh, you got it. You got a big chain gun, do you? I have an alpha.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, friend.
A Malstrain alpha.
Yeah.
But
I
definitely a favourite character. The only thing that I struggle with the alpha is it being petitioned. Do you know what I mean? It's that much of a straight
find
up.
It funny though.
Yeah, it's a straight up murder killer monster, and yet some scrappy little, corrupted Van Sar gang is going to be like, maybe we could ask the alpha to help us.
But no, they're literally reaching out and asking the patriarch for his assistance.
I know. But
I love that.
Why is the alpha throwing any weight behind anything that's happening? It's I don't care. I'm the ultimate killing machine, and I'm being asked to go punch the heads
because
in.
the patriarch is saying you need to go and help them. They are
my wild
spreading
snake.
us.
Yeah.
They are getting that Magos his wild snake.
Yeah. Look, I get that point of it. It just seems like such a big nasty to be able to. It's like petitioning, Lionel Johnson, be like, "Excuse me, Mr. Johnson, would you mind? All right, I'll come down. I'll help you kill some local."
It's weird
groks.
because I think the Emperor petitioned Lionel Johnson to come assist in the defense of Holy Terror during the Horus Heresy, and I don't think that petition went through.
No, there was a big fence in the way.
He was hanging out. It was just he
was hanging on the fence.
Let's see who wins.
Yeah. And make a decision. Disgraceful. No, I totally agree with you there. They just sat on the fence and just went, "Ooh, well, we want to help, but I My power armor laces have come undone. It's going to take a while to put them back together. Anyway, our next character that we will move on to is
Hermiatus, the second son.
That's the one.
Now, when the heretic Hermiatus was brought to justice, he left behind a legacy of genetic crimes. The greatest of these was the Genestealer strain he set loose upon Necromunda, though no less damning were the gifts he passed on to the Xenos cult of Secundus. For though Hermiatus himself has since been captured and purged by the Inquisition, fragments of his DNA live on in the species he had sought to eradicate. Over the decades following the fall of the Hive, a mutated, corrupted version of the Magos has appeared, known as Hermiatus the Second Son, or sometimes Hermiatus Reborn, son of the Malstrain, or the Hermophage Magos. He is a potent psychic being dredged up from the xenoracial memory of the Malstrain patriarch, created to continue the heretical Magos' work. In this capacity, he takes on the traditional role of a Genestealer cult Magus, though warped by the corrupted nature of the Malstrain. Some, who dare speak of such things, claim the patriarch resurrected the facsimile of Hermiatus in an effort to cure the Malstrain, or perhaps perfect it. Unlike many creatures in the thrall of the Malstrain patriarch, Hermiatus has a degree of autonomy from his master. This is in part so he might devise his vile biological experiments without restraint or guidance, all the better to reach a breakthrough in the development of the Malstrain. It is also so the Magos can oversee the spread of the Xenos corruption across Necromunda. Many of the infected that emerge from the Underhells and make their way back out into the great wastes and hives of the planet do so under the tutelage of Hermiatus. There have even been reports of the Magos appearing, leading Malstrain corrupted gangs far beyond the protective shield of the Dust Wall, employing his potent psychic powers to extend the will of the Patriarch into the furthest reaches of Necromunda. Oh, buddy.
This is some next level Cocoa Bananas nonsense from the Patriarch. He's like, your work is not finished. I need you to come back here. And I don't think it's a cure. I think it's perfecting.
I think it is both. I think the Patriarch recognises that there is something wrong with the way it has evolved and the creatures that it is taking control of. And I believe it wants Hermiatus to remove those blockers to allow it to not be limited by the Gestalt consciousness of the brood scum, of those lesser creatures. I believe it possibly wants him to take the Malstrain to the next step, to overcome those limitations and take immediate control of not only the Genestealer cults on Necromunda, but possibly the Tyranids beyond.
Oh, right.
I think the Patriarch has resurrected Hermiatus over and over and over again.
Oh, yeah, definitely has.
Because it is I think there's most likely several of the Second Son existing at a single time.
Yep.
Each of 100%. Them working on a different aspect, trying to cure or evolve the Malstrain further. So that call it's putting out will bring the Tyranid to Necromunda, not to absorb the planet, but to take the Patriarch off the planet.
Yeah.
I think the Patriarch thinks it will be able to dominate possibly a hive fleet.
I agree with you there, because it's caught within its own nexus for so long, it becomes so powerful, and it can only see a vision of itself in power, that it then goes, well, what is my next step? The expansion into the galaxy. I know that the Tyranid fleet is out there. or there is some hive fleet or some splinter out there that if I can touch on that, I can truly show the galaxy what it is to be under my heel or heels, we'll say, depending on how many feet it has. But so what we're saying is that the Hermiatus, the second son, is just being constantly reborn, I guess, for use of a better term.
Do you think they have a supply of mechadendrites and computer bits that they would then install on this freshly born Hermiatus?
So I think that Hermiatus could look almost like anything that you want it to look like. You know, the miniature that they've made for it is brilliant, don't get me wrong. But you could have a Hermiatus with a lot less of, you know, mechanical attachments and bits and bobs. You could have a Hermiatus which is the other way.
I've got it.
Yep.
They capture tech priests. They capture heavily augmented individuals, Van Sar, etc.
Yep.
And then infect them with the Malstrain.
Yeah.
And the consciousness of the second son flows into that body.
And then that becomes
the new second son. So that's why it looks like a tech priest each time, because they're capturing minor tech priests or minor explorators and actually turning them into Hermiatus.
Okay. So you're not seeing Hermiatus as this grown consciousness. You're saying the consciousness is simply passed upon.
Is passed upon these bodies, and the body, the consciousness is cloned because it lives within the Gestalt consciousness of the Malstrain.
Yeah.
And that entity, it's a genetic memory dredged up and given form.
Yeah.
So it passes the knowledge, the intellect, the state of existence into a new form. So that's why you could have several of them at once, each learning different things. So when they die and are reabsorbed by the Malstrain, the consciousness updates and pushes the information back out.
Yeah, so from what you're saying there, I could see them all having vastly different lifespans as well.
Yes.
So you could have things that last for 2 or 3 days, other things that could last for 2 or 3 decades or longer.
Yes,
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And so each one becomes this element that feeds back into the patriarch, and the patriarch says, okay, we've learnt here. But do you also see the potential of the patriarch trying to grow its own second son? Its own
150%. Yeah. It is doing it over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah, so with the knowledge that it has of Hermiatus, it would say, here's that DNA that we have living on from you. We're going to create another one and another one. But we're also such a strong, powerful psychic entity that we keep your psychic, you know, imprint in a box, you know.
Yes.
And we're able to then farm it out into these other bodies.
Yes.
That's a cool... You could have a whole gang of Hermiatuses as Hermiata.
Literally, very similar to that idea we had for the Fabius Bile and his sort of group of clones and agents. You could do a whole gang built around Hermiatus and like these almost backup forms for him.
100%. You have like all variations of him. So the leader would be the most prevalent and the most prominent. Then your champions are the next ones who are, you know, perhaps maybe the older souls within the gang or so, or whatever. And then the Jews are just things that might only have just tapped upon the psychic imprint or have maybe only just dabbled ever so slightly, you know.
Yeah.
Or are just genetic screw-ups, do you know what I mean? So they're not working, so they're just there for spare bits and bobs.
You would put him at the head of that gang, that captured Genestealer cult gang, where he's now trying to pass the Malstrain on to maybe regulate the reproduction cycle.
Cracking idea. That would be exactly it. Yeah, it'd just be like, all right, let's put the Malstrain in here because we know their breeding cycle isn't ruined yet. So we have 1 or 2 cycles to make this happen. if it doesn't happen after this, they'll just get folded into the rest.
Yep, they just get absorbed and become one with Malstrain.
Yes.
Oh, dude, that's sick.
So we'll stop talking there about Hermiatus, the second son, because we're about to talk about the Hermophage Magos, which you might have already
Someone
heard
we've already just mentioned.
Yeah, we might have already mentioned the Hermophage Magos. So this might sound a little familiar, folks, but just bear with us. When the heretic Hermiatus was brought to justice, he left behind a legacy of genetic crimes. The greatest of these was the Genestealer strain he let loose upon Necromunda. Though no less damning were the genetic gifts he passed on to the Xenos cult of Secundus. For though Hermiatus himself has been captured and purged by the Inquisition, fragments of his DNA live on in the species he had sought to eradicate. The Hermophage Magos is the purest expression of this, a psychic being dredged up from the xeno-racial memory and drawn to Necromunda to complete the heretical Magos' work. If the Hermophage is an aberration within its own kind, or perhaps merely the first stage of some kind of profane evolution, it is unclear. However, the creature seems to enjoy an elevated position within the Xenos cults of Necromunda and is powerfully psychic. When the Hermophage Magos finds a proto-cult within the depths of the hive, it is as if the hybrid creatures recognize their genetic father and immediately subsume themselves to his will. In truth, the creature is primarily an amplifier for the psychic strain spread by the alien lord of Hive Secundus, a vessel through which that dark thing might see beyond the walls of its radioactive prison. This has made the Hermophage a prize hunted by countless bounty hunters and the best of Lord Helmore's agents, the Imperial House rightly fearful of what the coming of such a creature could mean for the future of its world. So that read there is actually from the Book of Ruin. So that's actually, it's like, obviously written a while ago, and probably not necessarily having an idea of what the Malstrain or, the Malstrain patriarch would be coming to Secundus. So it's still obviously the same character, but almost identical to what we're talking about in the sense that it is something that is created. But I do love that they talk about the psychic strain spread by the alien lord of Hive Secundus. That is cool. So even back then, they were like, there is a powerful psyker within Secundus. Yeah.
But I love the fact that the Hermophage Magos is only available to Genestealer cult gangs as a bounty hunter, whereas the Hermiatus the second son is only available to Malstrain and Malstrain infected gangs as a house agent.
Right.
And I came up with an idea for how you can justify the credit cost for either the Alpha or the Hermiatus the second son. The credits could be used, could be seen as the amount it's going to cost to bribe officials or organise transport from where they are to where they need to be. Perfect.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Cool. That makes total sense. So, yeah, I guess the Hermophage Magos is... It almost feels like the Hermophage Magos is a spy within the Genestealer cult gangs. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like now that we know what we know, it feels like if you were to take one of these in a Genestealer cult gang, you almost have to test to see whether or not they get one of their little Jews infected with a bit of Malstrain. So...
It also says to me that the Hermophage Magos is from off-world. That the Genestealer, what was it, the xeno-racial memory has taken the identity of the Hermophage Magos, has birthed it somewhere else, and it has travelled to Necromunda to find these proto-cults to enslave them to its will. Possibly as a form of self-defense by the tyrannid species in an effort to combat the Malstrains. It's not a spy, it's reinforcement.
Wow, that is a cool idea. Oh, wow. So they've worked out that Hermiatus is a naughty no good,
Yeah.
up to badness.
Yeah.
We need it, and the best way to fight a Hermiatus is with our own Hermiatus.
Yeah, just like more doctor instead of Magos biologist.
Yeah,
Biologist, sorry.
biologist. Yes.
Yeah, I like that idea. I like the idea that the Tyranid species is sending their own Hermiatus to
Yeah.
Necromunda to combat
Yeah,
combat the
combat the
Malstrain.
Malstrain. That would make total sense as well. And don't make it on Necromunda because the Malstrain would know. It would
No,
fly.
but birth it somewhere else.
Yeah, and then bring it to the
And-
planet. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so they bring it in as like a super agent to try and to help them fight against what they're up against, because it would totally make sense if they get word off. Maybe they've captured their own Hermiatus at one stage, grabbed the DNA from it, and then made it off world and brought it back because they know they can't do it on Necromunda.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. When it was traveling, when Hermiatus fled Necromunda and was fleeing the Inquisition, it's still psychically connected to Genestealer cults as it travels. So it may be another cult has been close enough to sort of detect it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And has absorbed a portion of that that identity. Oh, I like that.
yeah. No, I really like that. Where you're saying that it absorbs part of the identity and goes, "Yep, cool.
Yeah,
we get
I'm gonna
what this is
send this
about."
back to Necromunda.
Yeah, love it. That's cool.
okay.
So you could run two of these. You could run a Hermophage in that campaign. You have a Hermophage Magos and a Hermiatus, the second son.
Oh, and your Malstrain infected Genestealer cult gang.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yes, you
And
could.
then if you get another one, I'm sure he had another name. Just wait. He had the
He had a bunch of them.
Hermiatus Reborn, and so it could look like that Spider-Man meme where all they're just pointing at each other, just like
just a bunch of Hermiatuses. Like,
you.
yeah, okay. I love that. All right. What's your gang idea?
No. What's your gang idea?
Okay. Mine is a Malstrain infected corridor gang
Oh, good. Okay, different to mine.
that are actually combat engineer. No, mine is a Malstrain infected corridor gang that is made up entirely of brood scum. But they're also Genestealer cultists. So I would build them entirely out of the flesh eater courts from the Age of Sigmar.
Oh,
Brood
wow.
scum would be crypt ghouls or crypt guard. My aberrants would be made of crypt horrors.
Yeah.
Like my preacher would be the abhorrent cardinal, where he's got the
Yeah.
big headdress and the staff.
Yeah,
like
looks like out of place, but also totally meant to be there.
But you'd do them, and you'd effectively like 40k them up, Necromunda them up, and turn them into more brood scum. But actually, they'd be run as a Genestealer cult gang, but I'd be running them as Malstrain allied, just to sort of say that they're brood scum.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I'd do them, and I'd do them as one of those clans or tribes or whatever
Yeah.
that has moved out of the zone for some reason. The patriarch has had one of those fits and said, you have to go down this tunnel and keep going, and you will find a place, and you will get there, and you will grow, and you will infect, and you will spread. And they've come into contact with this corridor gang, and they've absorbed them. You know, this gene, the Malstrain that was with them, has given them the kiss, and they've all been absorbed. And that's where they've fallen for the mindset of they've seen this religious ideal within the corridor, and they've started to personify it. I'd probably use that Warcry band, the Royal Beast Flayers, because they've got the those two big like dog monsters. They're like the undead gorilla beasts.
Yeah, they look absolutely awesome.
So I do them almost as what are the Cawdor abhuman machine gun guys?
Oh, right.
You know, the Master Blasters.
Yeah, little bloke on top who's got the gun and the Shambler?
Stick Shamblers.
Stick Shamblers, yeah.
I'd use them as like Genestealer cult infected Stig Shamblers. And I get it, you can't get your own things, but as an arbitrator, I'd be cool with it.
Yeah, have it on top of an aberrant. An aberrant with no arms, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's been warped out that maybe it's got tiny little T-Rex arms. And so that's how they make it functional.
Yeah.
Imagine that tiny little cute Genestealer arms, right, on this huge body and big legs, and then just something on the back just going, shooting with a massive gun. That's sick. I like it.
Yeah, but like I'd do them as literally just to do them up as all brood scum, like they're that evolutionary dead end.
Yeah.
That have been sent out, and for some reason they've been sent out with this Genestealer, and he's infected the Cawdor gang.
Yeah, I see it.
Or they've been a Cawdor gang that has been stuck there, and just generation after generation, the clothing and the roles within the clan have been passed down. But they're no closer to the perfection they were expecting.
Yeah.
You know, they're still...
I'm just looking at these cryptals, and they would be perfect for it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, even the fur on their backs and so forth, you don't paint it up as fur, but more as, like, the bony growths.
Yes.
So you have a few extra bony growths coming out of them. That would look wicked. That would look absolutely wicked. So they're obviously being corrupted by their time in Secundus, and now they've been told to boot off somewhere else and just, go capture something for us to use because you're now unusable, you things.
But very similar to the Flesh Eater courts, they look at themselves and see themselves as these nobles and these royals and in finery and that. This brood scum Cawdor gang would see themselves as true defenders of the faith.
Yeah,
Instead of cherubs, they have the Tyramites, and they would have, like, in their minds, lengths of silk hanging from these cherubs because they're carrying purity seals, and in fact it's pus-covered gauze.
Would you have a Malstrain Genestealer with them? Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And it would be that because you'd put it as a champion, but in their mind they're looking at it and going, this is Sir Gerald.
Would you have coalescence?
No.
No. Okay.
No, because they will push their faith to a certain degree. They still disagree with psychers.
Right.
And the coalescence isn't being sent out there. This isn't a different dome.
Yeah.
This is somewhere far, far away. It's just the brood scum and this one Genestealer.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I did hear you say about taking that one Genestealer, but like when you started to mention about like the Tyramites having the things hanging off them, you could see that Genestealer really becoming something that is, they just go, it's normal for it to look like this. This is the manifestation of our god.
Also, the Royal Decapitator is literally the headsman, but in Crypt Ghoul form. I wouldn't even convert that. I would take that model and I would put it on a Necromunda industrial base and just go, that's my headsman.
Yeah, that works a treat. That is actually that would actually just suit in any game of Necromunda.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. It's even with its weird legs, you'd just be like, yeah, no, it's fine. It's just a mutation.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be perfect for it, actually. That's great. Yeah.
Then I'd take the Nagash model and I'd say, that's my Oris Spiral. No. All right. What's your gang idea?
Well, I kind of thought maybe we might have had the same gang idea, but I'm thankful we don't. You're the one that influenced my gang idea, to be honest. and it
Combat
comes.
engineers.
No, it's not the combat engineers this time. It actually comes from when you were talking about the what do they call the Sylvaneth, right?
Yeah.
So you take an exploratory team from the Stranger's Spire, Stranger's Hive.
Don't. Yes.
Yeah. And they're obviously either Dukari or Eldari, right? They go into Secundus. They come out quite successful, but they've got a little bit of an itch on them. Something that has gone a little bit askew. And so you take something like the tree revenants, so where their bodies now start to get corrupted and modified by what has happened to them, and they become wraiths within their own selves. So,
Oh, dude.
yeah, you have a game. Maybe they don't leave Secundus. Maybe they're stuck in Secundus and they're trying to fight their way out. But the more time they spend in there, the more they're being corrupted by their environment, the more they're being pressured by that psychic pressure on them. And it's slowly changing them, but they can still hold true to where they came from and what they believe themselves to be, like, pure and something beyond what the local inhabitants of Necromunda are. But they're just becoming so corrupted, so wrong looking. But yeah, the reason is they go into Secundus because they know of this, psychic presence. They know the potential, they're not looking for the architect. They're looking to capture a Malstrain Genestealer.
Yes.
And so they want that. So they actually still see themselves as pure. Now they're trying to get out. But because of the issues with time within Secundus, perhaps they think they've only been there a year or 2 years or whatever. But they've actually probably been there for decades. And so as they try to flee, it takes longer and longer and longer. And you end up having these warped and corrupted creatures. I would run them probably as a Vansar gang.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah. And the reason for that is the Gossaminda archers you could take as being on the skyboards.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have them on
Yeah,
that.
you can.
And then you give them Necromunda weaponry. So you give them las guns and las carbines, all the rest of it. But they're just being slowly warped and corrupted by their environment. Now, the other thing as well is that they still hold this element of truth to themselves. So you even put a bit of armor over their bare skin and so forth. But ideally, they understand that maybe they shouldn't get out. Maybe they should just die here as well. So there's this torture amongst themselves about, we can't spread this to the outside world, but even so, we need to get out because what have we become? We're so lost and wild from where we are, but we can't have our souls die here in Secundus. Maybe they're Eldari, maybe they're not Dukari, then their souls belong, trapped within a soul stone or something along those lines. Yeah, so that's
I love that. I love that so much.
As soon as you mentioned Sylvaneth, I was just like, oh, those miniatures corrupted up to the nines to make them.
But look at the the growths off the back. Like that is straight up Malstrain.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, like you look at that, you're just like, oh, they are terrifying. Even the Kurnoth hunters. So you remove the heads and replace them with something a little bit more humanoid looking, but the rest of it is all stays the same.
I would take those hunters and, hear me out, kit bash them with Tyrannid warriors.
Yeah, perfect.
And do a Malstrain Tyrannid army.
Oh, wow.
Somehow a section of the Malstrain has been smuggled off planet.
Yeah.
It's gotten out and they've sent it it's taken over this shuttle or whatever and has just gone straight towards the nearest Tyranid fleet
Yeah.
and has tricked them into consuming it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like-
right. Yeah.
And they've quickly consumed it. The Malstrain has, like, the essence within this Genestealer or within this small group of them has taken over this, this gestation ship or whatever.
Yep.
And it starts pumping out this Malstrain version. It's not big enough to... It's a single ship. It's not big enough to take on a fleet or a planet, but it can attack a ship here,
Yep.
ship there. Maybe it's infected a Space Hulk.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you could do a patriarch out of, like, the Sylvaneth Tree Lord.
I think Drycha would probably be the really cool one with those hive-looking things on it. It's the hives that burnt into my brain straight away when you mention them. But yeah, this gang idea is more built around how to make things look more Malstrainian, we'll call it, or Malstrained.
Australian.
Yeah.
Drycha, yes.
Yep.
You are 100% on the money with that. I'm looking at her and I'm just like, yeah, you do her as your hive tyrant.
Yep.
The Sylvaneth Dryads and the regular Genestealers would show the newer generation of Genestealers, whereas your Malstrain Genestealers from the Malstrain kit would show possibly the group from that shuttle that have been reborn.
Oh, right. Yes.
Oh, dude. The Lady of Vines.
Yeah, I was looking at that too. The Lady of Vines is a great miniature to, like, it already looks Malstrain corrupted out the eyeballs. You just need to add some more Tyranid looking bits to it, and suddenly you have this terrifying thing.
You find a Tyranid player. We know Tyranid players. They'll have enough, like, spare arms and stuff. I would use the Tree Lord, actually, as a Carnifex.
Perfect. There you go. This would make a cool army. A very, very good. And then even the Revenant Seekers, like, I don't know how big they are, but you could definitely run them as... I think the Tyranids have some sort of larger type of flyer, not just the Hormigate, not the Hormigate.
Not the Gargoyles.
Gargoyles. I thought there was a larger flyer. Maybe I'm wrong. But I don't know the Tyranid army that well. But maybe they don't fit the bill quite as well. But everything else...
Parasite of Mortrex?
No, that's like a one-off.
The Harpy. The Harpy is a big one.
Yeah, that's what I was probably
Then you got the
thinking of.
Tyranid Prime. That has wings.
But even the Dryads, the old Dryad pack, would look really, really cool. But yeah, so that's my gang idea, is you build a Malstrain looking gang off the Sylvaneth range. And then imagine these things without blades and bows and all that. They've all got guns. That would look sick.
Oh, it's so good.
Anyway, well, look, I mean, we've been going on a fair bit. I like your gang idea probably better than I like my own, if I'm honest. But, yeah, I guess, is that the end of our Genestealer series?
Nah, man, we'll do one more episode for Patreon, I reckon.
Yeah,
talking
righto.
about the remaining, or at least another couple of the Genestealer cult characters.
Yeah.
We'll talk about how to build gangs around them. I've had a couple of people reach out in regards to us talking about the specific Genestealer cults.
Yeah.
So that are the named ones. I'll be honest, y'all, I don't want to talk about Genestealers anymore right now. I'm trying to build squats and 3 different kill teams and a 4x4 terrain board, and I can't be doing Genestealers right now. I've already made a bunch of Genestealers. And then I have to do the Genestealers for our Secundus table.
That is true, yes.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that. Hey man, we might just have a nice cruisy episode where we talk about cool Genestealer cults in the future. But for the moment, yeah, we've got one more Genestealer cult episode on Patreon.
Yep.
And then we are back to our regularly scheduled non-cult conversation.
Non-cult
No,
conversation.
our next episode is listener lore. Oh my god, amazing segue. We have gotten some amazing entries into the Genestealer cult listener lore so far.
Yes, definitely. There's been some crackers that have come through, like just ridiculously good. Not enough campaign ideas though. I'd love to see people put in a few more campaign ideas.
Yeah. So
lots of gang ideas.
If you're listening to this and you've got a gang or a regiment or an army idea that is Genestealer cult themed, or a campaign idea, and remember, we are very loose on this idea of Genestealer cult themed. Send it in to us, underhivelorekeepers@gmail.com, and just put in GSC lore or Genestealer cult lore.
That's so we can find it 10 times easier.
Yeah, just so we can find it. This episode here is being released on the 25th of September, and the listener lore episode should be coming out as of the 9th of October. So I would like to put a cutoff of Friday the 4th of October. Doesn't matter where you are. So as of that Saturday night, because Nathan and I are very cool and popular guys, we spend our Saturday nights recording a podcast in my garage.
That makes us cool and popular, yeah? That's what you said. You said that would make us cool and popular.
Hey, man, I think we're cool.
Sweet.
On the 4th, as of the 5th of October, I will be cutting off the entries so we can get that episode recorded.
Yep, 100%.
And so, up until the 4th of October, send it through, because that way, that Saturday, we can both ignore our families and read all of your awesome lore and pick a winner to get, apparently, my copy of Secundus, which is great.
Well, I'm happy about it, yeah. I think it goes to a much more deserving host.
Who you don't know.
Yep.
You're just saying anyone that isn't me is more deserving?
Yeah, 100%.
That's fair. I am looking forward to seeing some more of those. I'm really looking forward to reading some more of those, because all of them I've read so far have just been awesome.
Yeah, no, they've been brilliant.
So good.
I'm going to struggle to pick a small selection that we read from, because they're all fantastic. So, and even without giving it away, there's a little bit of, what is it, the Oprah?
The book club.
The book club. It's definitely right up there. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. There's one that came in today that I read, and I was so angry when I read it. I'm like, this is so good. But it was one of those, I can't do this right now.
Yeah.
I have so many gangs that I'm doing. Like, stop, please.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. I've been inspired by a few of them, but I'm just like, no, Archromunda is on the horizon.
Well, yes, Archromunda is, and we now have a players pack, and we're good to go. Turns out I need to make like 200 creds worth of extra gangers, which, oh no, I have to make more squats, which also means, damn it, I have to paint more squats.
Are you gonna Chaos Goblin it? Like just glue them together?
Oh, I'm definitely Chaos Goblining it.
Right.
I'm copying our boy Scott and just making more Juves. Like, screw it.
Yeah, right.
Juves for the Juve god. Now, any closing thoughts before I close this bad boy off with a quote?
Look, I would just say for the 3 episodes we've done, I have been thoroughly inspired by Secundus, thoroughly inspired by the Genestealer cults as well. I can definitely see us playing some Secundus orientated stuff in the next couple of months, hopefully. But yeah, the story behind Secundus, the whole story with the Malstrain, Hermiatus, it's just, mate, this is the reason why we play this hobby. All this lore, all this depth. It's just perfection. I loved it. And yeah, hopefully we'll do a few more episodes on Secundus in the future. But we'll see. We'll see what happens after the Book of Desolation. We'll see what more
we've got to
stuff
talk
comes.
about Spirers. We've got to talk about the ferrymen and the crane cities. There is so much to talk about still. We've got to talk about the timeline and our girl Lady Hera, what's going on there, and our boy Timmy, Helmore. Like, there's so much to talk about. And yeah, the ferryman characters that they release is just like, oh, here's just some amazing crap that you're all gonna lose your minds over.
Yeah, like, I was reading one of the ferryman characters today, and I was just like,
the Ogren.
Yeah, build an entire gang around that. I'll tell you, you're just like, how could you not? But anyway, yes, get to our quote and get to the end.
This one comes from the Book of Desolation. And it's not necessarily about the Genestealer cults, but it is about where a lot of them live. It's a long way from the Dust Wall to the Underhills, and every step of the way, something's going to try to kill you. And that's Yola Zad, Portgrave Ferryman of the Wind Splinter Alliance. And that was our latest episode of the Underhive Lorekeepers podcast. I am Spamuel, and on behalf of the Lorekeeper team, thank you for listening. Please follow us on our social media pages available in the show notes, and don't forget to follow and review us on your preferred podcast platform. As always, if you have questions, complaints, corrections, or if you are just insane in the Malstrain, insane in the brain, please reach out to us at underhivelorekeepers@gmail.com. Thanks.